This was taken from the 10th round of the first fight, right?
Good call. How'd you know that?
I heard about a third fight between you and Apollo. Behind closed doors. That true?
How'd you hear about that?
Who won?
It's kind of a secret. What'd you say your name was?
Don.
Okay. Well, the girl said you wanted to talk about something?
Yeah, I want to talk to you about training me.
Training? I don't do that stuff no more. Sorry about that. Listen, it's getting kind of late, kid, so I'm gonna close up.
How good was he?
Apollo? Yeah, he's great. He's a perfect fighter. Ain't nobody ever better.
So how'd you beat him?
Time beat him. Time, takes everybody out. It's undefeated. Anyway, I gotta lock up.
So when Mickey died, he came and talked to you, right? Talked you out of quitting. Took you to L.A. Trained you. Brought you back.
How do you know all this?
How do you think?
What are you, like a cousin?
He's my father.
Do you expect me to talk?
I'm your host Becca, and joining me as always, Dave Bond and Chris Byrne. How are you guys doing?
Good evening, folks.
Jolly good, thank you.
Are we not very sad, guys? 'Cause today we're coming to the end of our Rocky series.
It's always mixed feelings for me when we get to the end of things. I mean, I always get excited for what's coming next. So part of me wants to move on. Part of me, it's kind of mixed feelings because when I look at something like Star Trek, which finished with Beyond actually, which was pretty strong, but certainly the last few weeks weren't great. I was ready to be done with it. The fact that this series ends a bit stronger gives me mixed feelings. It's picking up again, and I'm really enjoying it. But it's time to finish. But yeah, always go with wanting more.
Leaving wanting more. Yeah, no, I mean I'm looking forward to getting to Batman, and so. I think what it is about Rocky is it's generally been a good series by and large. I mean, it's not been like Star Trek where you just hit like a streak of kind of boring, crappy ones. It's they've all been in their own way good, if not enjoyable. So yeah, maybe not a bad one.
I've not resented or dreaded any of these episodes at all. Certainly, the three in the middle I do think are weaker. I'm willing to be argued with that because I think it depends what you want from a Rocky film. I mean, I can totally understand why, if you really love 4, you may not even enjoy the first one very much, but they've all been reasonably enjoyable, whereas I know that when we were getting to the arse end of the Next Generation films, I was just wanting to be done. We were several weeks in and I wasn't enjoying them. But this has been a short series, but not as short as Superman, which seemed to be over in the blink of an eye.
Yeah, that went really fast.
So there feels to be like a little bit more meat here. The standard's been good. I think, if I do say so myself, I think our shows have been pretty decent on these. So it's a shame to move on, but at the same time, I always quite like completing a collection as well. That, if people want to know what we think of the Rocky series, we'll have done it all by now,
Yeah.
No, that's definitely, it's nice to kind of be a completist, isn't it? And I feel like for me, obviously, knowing about the series, but never having seen them, apart from Creed recently, I've started there and worked my way backwards. I kind of feel like this is going to sound really sad, but I feel like I've ticked a life box now. I've seen the Rocky movies and yep, I've done that. So yeah.
Are there any other film series or anything that we could potentially do that you haven't yet?
Oh,
seen?
God,
I think I was just about to say, are there any real big ones you haven't seen?
All the westerns.
That's true. You probably haven't seen all the westerns.
There are some westerns I have seen, just not all of them.
Admittedly, I haven't seen much Hitchcock, so I'm looking forward to getting to that.
Good. Now I'm looking forward to going back to it as well, because that's probably like my first, apart from Bond, my first major sort of love within cinema.
You are so, I mean, I like. There's plenty of Hitchcock I like, and there's plenty of Hitchcock I'm a little bit more knowledgeable on. But when we get to that, you're very much the fan of the three of us.
Yes, but yeah, I'll have to do a lot of reading to reinforce my knowledge. I don't know. I think we mentioned doing like Lethal Weapon somewhere along the line. I bought that box set and I've never seen. I've still not watched them.
You haven't seen them. Yeah, that's what we're getting at. Are there any real big name series, self-contained, that you haven't seen? I think Lethal Weapon's a pretty good example. Yeah, certainly.
Yeah, Batman. I've seen all of them somewhere along the line.
Yeah.
At the cinema, I'm just trying. You know what? I can't think now.
I haven't actually sat through Batman and Robin in its entirety.
Oh, okay.
So that might be a fun episode.
No, that'll be interesting.
Make sure you've got a brandy and you unplug the phone.
Okay.
Because it's a connoisseur's delight.
Okay.
Right. I feel a commentary coming on.
Have a cigar as well while you...
A big cigar.
Yeah.
And then chill.
Yeah.
I still see you. No, yeah, this 1960s Batman the movie I've not seen, so I'm looking forward to that one before we do the commentary on it. I can't think now, actually, of the films that we're doing. There are some I'm sure I haven't seen, but my mind has gone blank.
Okay.
But I've seen the Rocky movie, so hurrah!
Have you seen these now?
What's been your overall thought on the Rocky films? Have you enjoyed them by and large as a first time viewer?
Generally I have. Yeah, obviously there have been kind of falls in quality and storytelling along the way, but I think all along the way they've been entertaining in their own right. I think it started off strong, kind of dipped in the middle, and peaks and troughs is how I best describe it.
And what's been your favourite, including the film we're talking about tonight?
Oh, that's tough. I would still probably say the first one.
I think I would say I think it's fair to say that normally when the first film is that good, you're setting yourself up for a lot of disappointment. You're setting yourself up for a series of shit, why can't we have that again? I certainly feel that a little bit that way about Superman, even though I enjoyed reviewing them all and talking about them all. I think it is a testament to this series that I never, as much as I might not love 4 and 5, I wasn't in the middle of them thinking, shit, I wish I was watching the first one again. I was quite happy to accept the series as it came to me.
Yeah, I suppose that's something. You're not sort of like there going, oh my god. Well, I suppose it has kind of lost its way, but it's kind of like evolved over time. And it's kind of like, I think that's what most fans of the series, they have that. It kind of like they've lived through them. They found them at different stages of their life. You know, obviously, Rocky was like late 70s, wasn't it? So, and then you got.
Well, it's a bit of a rhetorical question for me in that we're moving on to something else. So, I don't necessarily expect people to write in or talk about it or anything like that. But just as a rhetorical question, I'm really curious to know if there is a big divide in Rocky fandom, i.e., do fans of the first one really hate 4 and 5? And if you are like a big Rocky 3 and 4 lover, do you tend to feel pretty ambivalent about the first one? I'm just interested because they almost feel like different film series.
They do. I think it's kind of almost like Bond because, from the people that I know who really love the series, like my friend from Australia who I podcast with from time to time, she's a huge Sly fan, so she loves anything Sly, and Rocky's like one of her favourite. It's probably her favourite series, and she loves them all. I mean, if you ask her what her favourite Rocky is, she probably would say the first one, but she loves 4 like equally. Well, maybe not equally, but with a certain degree of passion, should we say? And that goes throughout the entire series. Maybe less so 5. I don't know. I can't remember what opinion of that now. But I think it's kind of along the lines of what I was saying. It's like, well, it's not as bad as people make out, but generally, I think it's like we like them all, we accept them all as they are, with acknowledgement that the first one's the best one, probably along those lines.
I really, I'm ready to prove myself wrong over the next few years as we do this show and go through different filmographies. But off the top of my head, I can't think of a series of films that more mirrors where the creative mind behind it, not always the director as we know, but this is Sylvester Stallone's series and character. I can't think of a series that more mimics or more reflects where the actor's life was when we get to each installment. And I that's even true of various directors who are very autobiographical in what they do. This series, you can, you put it on and you just go, yeah, he's getting a bit big-headed here and his fame's gone a bit wild, and okay, he's coming back down to earth with a bit of a bang there. Right there, he's remembering what he's here doing this career for. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's fascinating from that point of view. And so I could hate for, and I still think it's kind of a worthwhile watch, just even if it was just for those sorts of things.
I guess because Stallone always puts like himself into the role, so for better or worse, that kind of comes through on screen. So
there's a big chunk of him that does go into it, and there's always, however much, if it's critically, it has a critical panning, for example, but there's still a lot of his heart in the film.
Yeah, definitely, and it's even more evident here as well.
Well, with that, Becca, tell us about tonight's film.
As if you hadn't guessed, we are discussing Creed, starring, of course, with Stallone, Michael B. Jordan, Tessa Thompson, Felicia Rashad, amazing, Tony Bellew, the score by Ludwig Göransson, script by Ryan Coogler and Aaron Covington, directed by Ryan Coogler, and released in 2015 or January 2016 here in the UK. What do we reckon to this maybe last piece in the Rocky puzzle, I guess? That doesn't make sense. This last bout in the Rocky Ring. There we are.
I would actually kind of like to revisit that towards the end of the show. Know whether we want to see another one?
I kind of do. I shall tease that now. We'll come back to it later.
Yeah. Okay. Chris, what do you reckon, bud?
Fucking loved it.
Good night, folks.
That's it. Bye. No, it's just really well done. I mean, obviously, Sly didn't direct this one. It was kind of. I don't know who came up for it. I know he was working on a potential script of the idea for this. I don't know what the ins and outs of how it developed. But it takes enough from the original series and gives it a new lick of paint with a new modern spin, new character, and just runs with it. It gives you what you want and expect from a Rocky film, but does enough new and does it really well, and that goes for the direction, the music, the acting, and it is just a really good film. It's one of those films that I would say it's a good mark and a testament where you tune in halfway through on telly, and regardless of what time of day it is, late at night, whatever, you know you're going to end up like, I'm going to have to finish this. I have to stay up and watch the rest of this because it's that good. That's how I think that it's that kind of film to me. So in a nutshell, generally, this is definitely one of the best ones. I'm not sure if it beats the original, but where I am now, I probably would rather watch this one over the first one at the moment, but I wouldn't like to say it's the better film though, if that makes sense.
There's other factors there.
Yeah, and plus,
how many times have you seen the original?
And plus, I've literally just I've seen this more recently as well, so it's more fresher in the mind.
Yeah, I guess there would be that to it. I mean, from my perspective, I wouldn't say I took against this film. That's not true at all. I still thought it was one of the better films in the series. But I like to support cinema. I like to see things for the first time in cinema. And I try really only to download things that I'll either never see or I'll definitely pay for anyway. And you might well say that's still morally not right or whatever, and I'm quite happy to put my hands up on it. But the fact is, a Rocky film I would always want to see in the cinema for the first time. But we got to about a week or two from its release, and its release being November 2015. It was still listed on my local cinema chain's site for then. I'd even like stuck it in like my calendar and said, right, we're to a friend of mine, right, we're seeing Creed that night, yeah? So it was already arranged, and then all of a sudden, with what feels like days to go, and I might have misremembered that, it was moved to February or late January. I think it was February, but one of the two anyway. It's 2016.
I think it was January. I think it was like I think it's
January normally
15.
January, but but anyway, the point is, I got really pissed off, and someone offered me a download almost by coincidence, and I missed a certain section of this film in watching that download, and we'll get to it when we get to it. But it really hurt how the film played. Also, I don't think the score... I mean, I've got mixed feelings on some of it because I'm glad the score's different. This is meant to be Creed, not Rocky. And also, even I was getting sick of the final bell goes and we hear the same fucking music yet again. As much as I love the Conti stuff, if you're going to do something new, do something new. But what it doesn't have to me is the heart of the first one. And I think that might just be my attachment to Rocky, if I'm honest, in that I was always far more interested when he was on the screen. With that being said, it does something different. You're absolutely right, Chris. You know, it goes a step further than even the last film in using HBO graphics, you know, showing us where people are in the pound-for-pound rankings, and maybe we can come back to what that means later. It's pretty self-explanatory, but I have been asked by people before, what does pound-for-pound mean? And we'll come back to that a bit later on. And I do think that they at least try to give the film an identity of its own. We don't see Rocky immediately. We don't even see Philadelphia immediately. We have several scenes without him in. That's not normal. The films are normally all about Rocky. And we are given thematic weight with what's come before. I have some problems with that because I'm not convinced Creed has been quite told to us as quite the great he actually is in this universe. My final thought on it is when the Academy Awards nominations for the year were announced, Sylvester Stallone was nominated for Best Supporting Actor, as was Mark Ruffalo, and the eventual winner, who was Mark Rylance for Bridge of Spies. Of all the nominees, and I can't remember the other two, I just remember thinking after I'd seen certainly those three, and I think I'd seen them all, that I really hope it's Sly or Mark Ruffalo, because I thought those were the two outstanding performances. Turned out to be neither of them. Watching this again, and we can talk about it as we go through scene to scene, I am now completely sure Sylvester Stallone should have been awarded it for this film. Not as a golden watch, but on merit as a fantastic performance. And I think he's a large part of what makes this film work. So yeah, on balance, it's absolutely terrific. What about you, Becca?
Yeah, as I kind of said previously, I was a complete newcomer to the series, even though I know its impact upon popular culture and where Rocky's character is placed, within the great pantheon of leading titular characters. I kind of saw Creed first, so I kind of went backwards into it, as it were. It's very interesting. Obviously, there's a lot of parallels to be drawn between this and the first film, as regards to having a father figure and things like that, and coming from more kind of like rags to riches kind of story as well. But having seen this one, and then knowing more about the Apollo Creed storyline, and now I've gone back and rewatched this film, I can appreciate more of the emotional weight behind it, and why, like for example, Adonis was so keen to shed his kind of name and make it on his own, for example. But if I was to, I was going to say if I was to rank the films, but I don't think I will. But I'll just say the first one for me really stands out just in terms of its look and its feel and how it was shot, and in terms of the story that it tells, and the characters that it portrays. I would probably place Creed perhaps second, a very close second behind the number one. But I sort of really enjoyed it. There's a lot of heart behind it. Some really interesting characters, perhaps some maybe aren't as well rounded, but generally, I mean, yeah, as you said, we don't see Rocky until a good chunk into the film, which again is very different. But I think, as I'll kind of mention maybe towards the end of the show, I think we're now at an intersection between the two stories, and I think it's interesting to see, if anything, where it will go from here. But no, I really enjoyed it, and yeah, excellent film, and yeah, Rocky was robbed basically.
Well, Sly was robbed.
Sly was robbed even. You have to excuse me. Sorry, I had I'm a bit of hay fever at the moment, so I'm a bit everywhere. So you have to excuse me, people.
To be honest, I do normally try to edit sniffles out, but it's that time of year, folks. It will be there.
It's quite hot here in England today, so which is we can't cope in all this heat,
Yeah, we can't stand it. It's at least 60 something. I'm kidding.
Can't cope.
I was very interested in your opinion on this, Becca, as someone who watched it first, and as typical Becca Andrew response, then apologised for watching it, which was just like, it's your film, watch it if you want. But you were committed to watching it in order, and then you just cracked from people talking about Creed.
Yeah, and I thought, I must see it. I must see it.
That raises a very interesting question that I think you've answered, actually, that how different is an experience is it when you watch it before and then after having seen the rest. I tend to think a lot of my love for this, I think they do a good job with Adonis in general.
Yeah.
And I think Michael B. Jordan does a very good job. But I also think that a lot of my love for this film is residual care for the character of Rocky and where they take him in this film. So I can never know. I can speculate, guess, make intelligent, take an intelligent guess at it. Mm-hmm. But I will never know how this film plays when you've not seen anything else.
No, that's it. Yeah, the only way I can describe it is I can appreciate more, as I say, the emotional story behind it. Perhaps I'm trying to think of a way to say it within the parlance within the film. Maybe perhaps some of the punches didn't hit as hard watching it, blind, for example, on the in the first watch. But then knowing all those references, sort of characters
point. I'd be very interested to get your view on, Becca, and it's really kind of only just occurred to me that most films where they're low budget and then later on the money starts being spent, when you go back and watch the original, it kind of looks a bit cheap and nasty. And even where that doesn't always affect it. I mean, The Terminator's a much cheaper film than Terminator 2, and I still prefer it, but I do think that this is a strange example of a series where the lack of budget almost helps the first film.
Yeah, it almost improves it, doesn't it?
Well,
sometimes when you've got when you have a lack of budget, you have to be creative, don't you? And
I think I do mean that, Becca, because I do mean the ice rink and stuff like that. But what I actually mean is that it almost mimics the hunger of the creative mind behind it, that they just got to get this film made. And I don't care if you only give me fucking $200 to make it, I'll find a way. Whereas this film can't possibly compete with that, in that it's going to feel like product by comparison. Of course it is.
No, that's it. But no, I still think that, given the difference in budgets, Creed, still retains the tone, the heart, the character of those early Rocky films. For me, anyway.
Okay. Yeah, I think Dave's right. I think it has largely.
I concur for sure.
No, I think it's largely down to the presence of Stallone. I think if he wasn't in this, there would be a huge element of what really works about it.
Or if there was just generic ex-champion who's getting ill or whatever.
Yeah. But I think even with that, I think let's say Stallone is that good in it. Let's just say if it wasn't Rocky, let's just say it's not Rocky. Stallone's playing in
he's playing his character from Grudge Match.
Yes, yeah, it's Grudge Match 2.
Grudge Match 2, The Reckoning.
Operation Miami Beach.
It would still work well enough. I think his performance is that good, but it enhances it just a little bit. The fact that it's Rocky and you follow through the rest of the story, and everything means a little bit more because you've got that added history to it.
So are we saying in sort of summary to that bit then that yes, it stands alone. It stands alone very, very well, but it can't ever be in first place because it almost requires the first Rocky film and even some of the rest of the series to really elevate it to greatness. Without that, it's just a very good film.
Well, I think in terms and its own terms. I mean, the problem is when a film is continuing on from a story. In other words, if it's like another sequel, it falls back on what's been done before, unless it's something a little bit more episodic, like maybe like some of the James Bond films are. I say some because some do have investment in previous films. Then that might be okay, but generally speaking, it does rely on what's gone on before. I think even Guardians of the Galaxy is like another example. I mean, that film works better when you consider it with the last film in terms of like the relationship with characters. So,
but you could go in and pick it up. I mean, some of the Fast series is a bit. I remember a friend of mine, and I've mentioned him before because he's boy, but he's also he's also when I'm not going by myself, when I go to the cinema, it's normally him, and he said to me, and I've talked about this back in the Star Trek series when we were talking to Charlie, so I remember Charlie being on the show. I said about being effectively forced to go and see Fast 6. Now, I don't need to be forced now. I quite enjoy the Fast series, but at the time I was really like, oh, that just sounds like a load of fucking high-octane bullshit. But
that's what they are.
Well, yeah, but that's not necessarily a problem now. But all I'm saying is, I was like, it's the 6th film. Surely I'm going to struggle with this because they don't do films that completely stand alone anymore.
Don't see the others.
And I just remember having a conversation on Twitter, and I think I asked the guy from Empire, Chris Hewitt, is he called?
Yeah.
Yep.
Chris, yeah. I just said, he said something about Fast 6, and I went back saying, look, I've never seen one. I'm like, can I go and see this, do you think? And he said, I don't think you'd have a problem.
No.
Now, I didn't in terms of the plot itself, but possibly I would have understood a little bit more what if I'd seen what had happened to Letty.
Plot? What plot?
And understand where, like, Brian and Vin Diesel's stuff comes from, and they go into when he goes into prison and he punches someone in the nose, and that's clearly a running joke from a previous film. So I was able to enjoy it on its own terms, and as much as you can laugh about them all plot, it's all about petrol. No, it ain't. There is a plot in every Fast film. There is.
It's all about
family.
and
they do follow on from each other to some degree. The same is true here. I think you can watch Creed. I don't think you get the most out of it without knowing the Rocky series to some degree.
But the thing is that most people know, even if you haven't seen Rocky, most people, like, on a broad term, know about Rocky.
I think broad terms might be enough, Chris, don't you?
Yeah.
Because this film will tell you he's widowed. He's a former legend. He's on hard times. I think, but you do need to have some understanding of what type of guy he is.
Yeah.
I think it helps.
And also, I think Sly, because we were talking about, like, say, Roger Moore last time around, and he had big screen presence. Sly has big screen presence. So when someone like him comes on screen, and he is that infamous character, even if you haven't seen it, it still has weight to it, I think. And I can't speak for people who've maybe watched this, like I don't know, maybe Becca, because you've not seen Rocky, but I think that still plays something to it, that there is, like, you still feel the history even though you not actually know it yourself, but you kind of, like, acknowledge that there's something there that adds to it.
Well, on that basis then, can I ask, like, one last question of sort of Becca before we go through it sequentially?
What is this, question time?
Well, I'm asking you questions, and it's the time in which I'm doing it, so yes.
No, I didn't mind.
Right.
Ask away, it's fine.
Okay then, as somebody who hadn't seen this series before, but was a little bit aware of Rambo, Demolition Man, a lot of his action stuff, The Expendables, whatever, what do you now think, having seen this series, of Sylvester Stallone, both as an actor and as a screen presence, a film star?
So I made some jokes at the beginning of the series that this is partly me being very dim. Actually, it's all me being very dim. Struggled to understand him just because of the way he speaks. And
you had subtitles on in the first one, didn't you?
No, I did, unfortunately. Yeah, I generally struggle with accents generally. But no, I mean, I don't sort of belittle him. I do. I've seen Rambo, I've seen all the other action movies that he's done. But knowing that he's sort of written and directed the bulk of these films. I wasn't just trying to like put him down or berate him, or saying just because he plays a character like this doesn't mean he's actually quite dumb in real life.
But
no,
he is stereotyped as muscles and steroids.
Unfortunately, he is. But no, he's a very intelligent man, and he's doing these for a reason, and he knows what he's doing. And he's got the sort of the creative directorial nous to to be able to do it. And I highly rate him for sure. He's very switched on. And I'm just glad to be doing these films really. But no, I do rate him quite highly, both as an actor and also behind the camera.
Cool. With that, shall we discuss this film sequentially, folks?
Sure, why not? Let's
let's
into
do
it.
Now, this is quite an unusual start to a... But let's just accept it's part of the Rocky series, so we'll refer to it as a Rocky film, even though
it doesn't open with the words.
Well, no, but it's quite clearly trying to stake an identity separate from the Rocky films. But it falls in sequence with the Rocky films, so I appreciate to anyone listening, what I'm about to say isn't technically true because it's not a Rocky film, but what I'm about to say is. This is the most unusual opening we've had to a Rocky film, isn't it?
Yeah.
It is, definitely. This is why I think we're at a divergence, but more on that later.
Well, it is in the sense that it doesn't open with a montage.
It doesn't say no. It doesn't go montage, and it doesn't go Creed in big letters.
Yeah, but not only that, we don't normally start in a different time entirely.
No, or in a different location.
We didn't start Rocky 4 with here's Rocky on the beach when he was 12.
No, that's true.
No.
Or even first Rocky for that instance. It was just straight up. I mean, it starts off in 1998, doesn't it?
That's right, yeah.
In a boys' penitentiary prison or juvenile.
It's definitely some kind of incarceration, isn't it?
It's what the kids call juvie.
Yeah.
Whatever that is.
Young Offenders Institute.
Yeah, let's go with
It's
that.
short for Juventus. And it's where young kids go to learn football.
And
That's
to
a good idea.
fight.
Yeah, there's basically... You can tell it's regimented. They're sort of trying to line up against the hall and all the rest of it. And suddenly it goes into lockdown because there's a massive fight going on.
Yeah.
And at the centre of it is a young boy.
And it's almost done in one shot as well. It does quite a lot of those long sort of sweeping shots where it kind of follows characters.
I never thought about that. You're actually right. It is. It goes right the way down the hall and around the corner to him.
And it goes down the stairs and you see him and you see the kids fighting and then it cuts away. Yeah, but
That's very cleverly done, I think.
It is.
You'll see a lot of that later on during the fight sequences.
So we got two young boys fighting. They appear to be, about 12, something like that. That is backed up by the film in the end because it's 98 and we think young Adonis was born in about 86. And then the next thing, he is basically in, I don't know what the equivalent would be, but it's kind of solitary confinement, isn't it?
yeah, he's basically in a kind of cell / waiting room, whatever it is. She has a visit from Marianne. Is that?
That's the character's name. We
Yeah.
last saw her in Rocky 4. Now, you wouldn't recognise her here because obviously it's a recast. Felicia Rashad is still probably best known for The Cosby Show. Is that fair to say?
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, certainly this side of the pond.
Yeah, I don't know about anywhere else. I would assume that's correct because it was like the biggest sitcom in the world at one point.
No, that's it. And that's probably, her most famous role.
Whatever happened to its star?
Bill Cosby.
Yeah, whatever happened to
No,
him?
it went a bit wobbly for him, didn't it?
Well, it went wobbly for some people around him. I don't know about for him. He's now on trial for sexual assault, Chris,
Oh, okay.
Oh dear.
with hilarious consequences.
Hilarity issue.
Hilarity ensued, but not for Cosby.
I'm always.
I look forward to that episode then.
I've always got. I never know how to pitch the tone here because part of me wants to fucking laugh at him, but on the other hand, we are talking about a series of very serious rapes and sexual assaults.
Let's just move on, shall we?
So we will move on from
Okay.
there. But his co-star in The Cosby Show has been recast in this effectively as Apollo Creed's widow. And the fact that it's a recast is great for two reasons. Firstly, it's a better actress than we got in the earlier films. Not that they were given much to
No,
show.
I'll say we didn't really see much of.
But we know
the other
Felicia
people
Rashad could command a screen and can deliver lines very, very well.
Yeah.
Because I know it was a sitcom, but she was very good in it. but it also helps because we don't immediately know who she is. Now, we've gone to see a film called Creed, so we can probably infer all of it from both that and the synopsis of the film. But if you don't know, or you're just looking at the film on its own merits, we've just got a boy and a lady. It isn't, she looks like the person who was married to Apollo Creed. So it works really well. And it raises a lot of questions for me that we never actually answer. But if you put yourself in her position, it's got to be really tough, this, hasn't it?
Yeah.
It's very awkward.
If you think about the circumstances of this happening, just to explain to those of you listening along and maybe haven't seen the film, this is basically the illegitimate son of Apollo Creed. So he fathered this child with another woman just before he died. So when he died, that woman was pregnant. We don't know how far along, but we are told it was before he died, before Adonis was born. So basically, the wife who was cheated on is going in to check on the progress of like the progeny of that, and I think that's a wonderful character beat.
Because he's basically without any family now because the mother's now passed away.
Yeah, we're not given any details on that, but she's passed away. Yeah,
and I think she's really. It's a really good scene, really strong scene. One of the things I did notice is she kind of like stops the what do you call it, the social worker or whoever the lady is who's introducing them. Yes. She kind of like stops and sort of like before she's introducing, starts asking questions, and Donnie's thinking, she herself is a social worker, and he's like, no, I'm not a social worker. And it's very kind of you can see the whirlwind of emotions that goes on in her face. You can kind of see like where she is. She has moments of like a bit of anger, pride. She still has like respect for Apollo. In some regards, but there's like
it is that desire to both defend and condemn at the same time.
Yeah.
I didn't have a father. Well, you could almost not blame her if she went, yeah, well, he fucked around, insisted on fighting when I didn't want him to. And I'm sorry, you've been abandoned in exactly the same fucking way I was. But it actually comes across as, no, you need to be proud. You need to be proud of this guy. He's your father, and he was a great man. That's the subtext to all of this. And it does. It's all in her face. I think it's very, very good.
I think if you could say like she sort of say that because that's what he needs to hear as well. More than
yes. But what I'm saying, I've never been in this position, and I don't have any children. Full stop. But I cannot imagine that it would be easy to raise the child of someone with whom the person of the child of someone with whom the person you love cheated on you, and you never get the impression that she ever gave him even a moment's grief over it. She loved him like her own.
Yeah, and it just speaks volumes about that character. And given the fact that the entire series so far hasn't done anything much for her, it takes one.
She was just the woman at ringside, wasn't she?
And and you got like the opening scene that just sort of like just gives you that whole side. Just tells you like a heck of a lot more about that character, which just shows how well thought out and written this film is.
But it's a really fascinating. It's a fascinating opening scene. He says that he doesn't have a father. She says, "No, your father was my husband," and he's basically, well, who was he then? And then we get the Creed.
Yes.
Sort of.
The title, really.
Well, it's a title. I was about to say scroll, but it doesn't scroll across, does it? It just fades in.
Yeah.
And we come out of that to him as an adult.
Yeah, and he's in Mexico somewhere, and he's sort of just gearing up for an illegal boxing match because he's not a professional. But he somehow really wants to. Again,
so many stories in this that so much you can read into this because he is the son of Apollo Creed. that's got to be as worthwhile as an Olympic gold medal.
Yeah.
In that you'll get an immediate bump forward in who will sign you on, who you can fight, what sort of trainers you can get. So he could have a very good start to his career. Where it goes would then depend on him, but he doesn't. So what's that about? Is that resentment to his father? This is rhetorical, by the way, because we find out as the film goes on. But at this point, it's like, okay, why is he fighting sort of under the wire? Is this about Mary Jane, or what's she called?
Marianne.
Is it about Marianne? Is it about her, or is it about... What is it about? Is he embarrassed he's fighting? Does he not want people to know because his father died? We don't.
More money?
It immediately raises a lot of questions.
I think the thing with this is, and it's difficult to kind of handle because the character is kind of like conflicted and confused about it himself. You know, on the one hand, he's running in his father's footsteps, but at the same time, he doesn't want to use his name because he wants to make it on his own ground. And the one thing that he really wants is a father figure.
I think the answer's a bit of all of that, though, isn't it? It's partly that, but it is partly Marianne, isn't it?
Yeah.
And actually, again, we may be overreading this, but that's a character beat for Adonis, that he cares about her. He's grateful for being looked after. He doesn't want to hurt her. Part of this isn't just he's worried he's going to get told off. He doesn't want to hurt her.
Yeah.
She watched her husband die right in front of her.
Yeah, I suppose that would be. I mean, I guess he must have just got a taste for boxing. I mean, we do get like a few lines where he sort of says like, "I've always been fighting," so he's always.
It's implied he's born to it.
Yeah, so he just for whatever reason, like whether it's
a natural part of him.
Well, whether it's Apollo or not, or maybe just the circumstances of his early development. He's always had the instinct to fight. He always wanted to.
I've always inferred it's basically in his blood.
Yeah, I suppose the film would probably want to work with that.
I don't know that I like that, but I think that's what the film's telling us. And I think, Becca, you tend to agree?
Yeah, definitely. I would say it's kind of as implied, isn't it? So, also, in terms of going back to like the original Rocky story as well, doing a kind of, sort of really fights in kind of like a very small scale, sort of like a grubby kind of ring. It's got that whole kind of look to it.
But different.
But different. Obviously, being on the other side of the border. Yeah, but so it's the same but different, if that makes sense. But from a different, the same sort of thing, but from a different perspective.
Great visual storytelling in this, because the next scene he's obviously gifted. He knocks the guy out quite quickly. We know he's 15-0 now after that, and the very next scene we see he's at an office. He's at a desk in an office, a white collar job.
Yeah.
Don't think we were expecting that, were we?
No.
And
I sound a bit bad in sort of saying that, but yeah, no, it's just kind of like, oh, okay, yep, that's fine,
Well, yeah, he kind of looks uncomfortable though. I mean, that's the thing. He looks fine like as a suit, and he's not like been held back in any way. But he kind of feels like, no, this isn't for me. He hands his notice in kind of like shubbishly, and they get
on the back of a promotion.
Yeah, and his boss is like gobsmacked. Just to say like,
what?
Yeah.
Do we think that has anything to do with it? That it's almost like, no, this is getting serious now. In that, if I take this promotion, I'm getting kind of institutionalized.
It'll be in too deep.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, there's also the element of the fact that he's getting older as well, so time's ticking on, and it's
time's really ticking on because he's 28, 29.
Yeah.
And the timeline of the film, yeah.
So there'll be that side to it as well. So it's like, oh, I've got to do it now or never. So in his mind, he says that, right, I've got to make a go of going professional. So yeah, he quits his job and he goes back home, and he doesn't tell his mum straight away that he's quit.
Chris, it's no secret to anyone who's heard the Roger Moore show we put out last night. We've recorded this once, but we've left several days, so we've deliberately forgotten what we said before, and I am taken to this point that we haven't said much of the same stuff. But Chris did say that last time, and I didn't interrupt. That I'm not disagreeing with you, Chris, but what does he say? I can't remember. I get the two scenes mixed up.
Well, I always got the impression that when he went in to tell her, but he just didn't find that right time.
What does he tell her?
I think he just got. I think I think he just gets distracted, like there's food and whatever, and then he starts like just watching his old boxing match. Well, not his old boxing match, but the
I
Apollo
love the
Rocky
decision to have them watching it on a film reel.
Yeah,
because he could have stuck in a converted DVD or Blu-ray or something.
Yeah, especially
but he
that
doesn't.
time.
He watches it on like a projector.
Well,
which is a lovely callback to the second film actually.
Well, I think it also give the style of the reflection of his shadow going on the screen. Well, he's kind of boxing his dad essentially.
I agree, but there's a definite choice here, isn't there? Directorial.
Yeah. I mean, it's probably down to the visual, wouldn't have that impact, but also a nice little throwback. Also, when you have when you put something on a projector, it has a more nostalgic value to it.
Yeah, and we're looking back. Yeah, I think
really
also there's a big thing with film in fights.
Yes.
In Film Fights Inc., which was owned by Jimmy Jacobs and Bill Caton, I believe. They had the largest fight film library in the world, and they were all in that kind of format. There's a big thing about projecting old fights. So yeah, it tells me the director knows what he wants to do artistically, and it also tells me what he wants to do from a character perspective. But on top of all of that, it tells me he knows a bit of fight history. It might just be watching Rocky 2, but he knows that these projected fight films are a thing.
Which fight was it? Was it the fight in Rocky 1 or 2?
What, that we saw projected like that? You've got Mickey talking to Rocky when they're watching film of the first fight in Rocky 2. And that's where he says to him, you need to fight orthodox next time. You've got Guts going back in there with him, kid.
Yeah.
So it's in the second film. They watch effectively a projection of the first fight.
Okay, so you think it's the first film he's watching?
Well, funny enough, again, when we did this the first time and we were chatting, I did look up in a totally different context because this show's unfolding quite differently. But I looked up Ryan Coogler then, and his father used to make him watch Rocky 2 quite a lot. And I think, well, actually, the only other film we've seen that in is Rocky 2. What a surprise.
Yeah.
So I think that's where he's picked it up from.
So, yeah, again, I think it's a very good, interesting visual. Obviously, Adonis is fighting his father. Just wants to step in Rocky's shadow, essentially. So, next day he goes to his dad's old gym and has to be trained. Now the key thing there that gets missed. Oh, sorry, no, that's not true. Let me put it another way. It's a key thing that I missed the first time round. I only saw it the second time I watched the film. The kid, the trainer here is a guy who played Avon Barksdale in The Wire, and I cannot remember the actor's name. I could look it up, but I'm too lazy. Now, he is the son of Tony Duke Evers from the first film, or from all the other films actually, Apollo and Wood Harris, there you are.
That's the one.
Right, okay. I'm trying to think what else I've seen him in. I've seen something else in the last 3 or 4 years. But anyway, he's best known for The Wire. He was basically the head of the sort of drug gang in the first series and thereafter.
That's probably another thing that I've never seen. 10 years behind.
We'll talk about that another time because I actually think it's periodically sublime but a little bit overrated. But anyway, he is the son of Duke, and he's refusing to train a game young man. Why? It's another thing. Well, it helps if you've seen the previous episodes. His own father was the trainer of Apollo Creed and was in the ring or in the corner when Apollo died. We can also take it as read that Avon is older than Adonis, which means that as a kid he probably remembers it himself. So there's a little bit of character beat there that it tells you what a close-knit community they were. It tells you that their word is kind of their bond, but it also tells you that they have decided as a family and community that Adonis will not be put in the line of harm. Have I overread that, or is that the way you read it?
No, I mean, I'd never read it as much as that, but then that's not to say that you're not wrong. The film doesn't give you that much to kind of really know, other than the fact that he just doesn't want to bother with him. Right. I mean, maybe that's a little bit harsh. You do get the sense.
Does it come off to you as he just can't be bothered?
No,
because it always came off to me that, like, for reasons of honour and promise, he won't.
Not quite like, oh, I can't be bothered. Just that he just doesn't think he should, and he's like, look, I'm not sure. You're like almost like you're too old now, or you're kind of maybe he sees too much of a hothead in him that he just thinks.
He's trying to sort of protect him. I think
you're just wrong. I mean, yeah. I mean, Dave could be absolutely right, and I do like that idea as well. He's like he's not overtly nasty or anything. He's just a bit kind of no way.
He's
Jose.
direct.
Yeah.
There's no maliciousness in it, I don't think.
No, but Donnie doesn't have any of it. I mean, he says, "All right, I'll pick any guy. I'll take him on just to kind of prove you wrong." And he easily sort of knocks out one of the guys, but unlucky enough.
And he's a decent fighter. We are.
Yeah.
The graphic style of this film, they do, when we first see a fighter, it tends to freeze frame and then show us if they have any titles, where they're ranked by the Ring magazine in terms of pound for pound, or where they're ranked by the WBC or one of the bodies or whatever. This series is quite happy now to accept that there are multiple versions of world titles in each weight division, but we are left under no illusion that this guy is just some pug. This is a very, very high quality boxer. That he knocks out. And
I've forgotten what his qualification was, but yeah, he just easily just sort of like knocks out without any headgear. And then, unluckily enough for him, the world number two
best fighter in the world,
second best fighter in
pound for pound, yeah. And who is, I believe, he's another boxer himself, isn't he? Andre.
I'm not sure. I would need to look that up. I'm not sure.
But he's called Danny Stuntman Wheeler in the film.
All right, let me just look him up.
And yes, he is Andre Ward. Yeah, he is a professional boxer.
Oh, Andre Ward. Oh, I've seen Andre Ward fight. He was one of the very best in the world. Yeah, no, Andre Ward's a great fighter.
Yeah, well, that's him.
Yeah. Right. I don't know why I couldn't place him, but yeah, Andre Ward is great.
Yeah, did he have an Olympic background as well?
I can't remember, but I do remember him being, when he first came to prominence and won titles and all that kind of shit. And I do remember there was a period where he was sort of considered one of the best there was around at any weight. I'm a little bit out of the loop on boxing now, so I can't really honestly remember. But I mean, he's still unbeaten. The guy is like, 33 now, and he's still unbeaten.
Oh, that's pretty good going.
And he's considered, it does say here, as of May 2017, considered the best boxer in the world pound for pound by the Ring magazine. Now, that's basically Floyd Mayweather has resigned and Manny Pacquiao isn't quite what he was. But yeah, he has long been one of the best around. He's actually now a light heavyweight. I'm pretty sure when I first saw him, he was lighter than that. Actually, I'm looking back, he was a super middleweight, so he was only one weight behind that. But I do remember watching him fight a few of the better guys from that era.
So arguably, is he actually better than the boxer who he ultimately fights?
Not arguably, he is.
Okay. So that's interesting. So like the fighter who is like
the best pound for pound fighter in the world
in Creed
is a pretty decent champion level pro. But no, actually, the number two in the world was Andre Ward, which I never picked up. But no, Andre Ward's a great fighter.
Okay, and yeah, he basically just kicks Donnie's ass as soon as he gets in the ring,
quite quickly as well.
Yeah, and takes his car was a bit unnecessary. I know he was throwing that on the line, but
it was a bit came out of nowhere.
If I was on either the verge of a world title, or I probably was a world champion in that I've got far enough to be ranked the number two in the world. don't know that I would need his car.
Yeah. I mean,
I'll probably have
he's trying to prove himself too much, maybe.
Yeah, absolutely.
I just think he's just been. I mean, I think we're supposed to sort of like believe that he's going to be.
I think they just want to humiliate him, Chris.
Yeah.
And it's not to be bastards. It's to really put him off. Now, I'm not saying Andre Ward's character would know any of that. He's just turned up in the gym. Yeah, I'll kick someone's ass if you want. But Avon, because I can't remember his character's name, Avon would go along with that on the basis that, well, yeah, let him be embarrassed a bit if it stops him coming here and wanting to fight.
Yeah. I do feel it's a bit. I think you're right in that regard, but I do feel that there's a little bit of it's a little bit of him just being a dick with the box with Danny Stuntman Wheeler.
The boxer might be being an asshole.
Yeah.
He would take any opportunity, but the fact that that's allowed to even happen, or the way Avon tried to stop it, would be that, like, well, A, I can't stop it, and B, frankly, what's likely to happen is he's going to get embarrassed, and if that puts him off, great. Yeah.
So, but I always think there's potential for him for like a match between them two, which doesn't materialise.
Well, he's still unbeaten. I think he's still unbeaten as a character at this point.
Yeah.
And of course, because of what happens later, when he's kind of sucker punched anyway, his cachet's not diminished really. So yeah, possibly.
So maybe in the possible sequel we'll have Andre Ward
later. Yeah.
Maybe.
So yeah, obviously, so he goes home with the doing the usual, wearing the sunglasses indoors to kind of hide like the black eye.
Has that ever fooled anyone?
That old chestnut.
Oh, all right. He was bright in here.
When all of a sudden you become Bono? Like, why are you wearing it?
At least Bono can blame it on glaucoma.
Yeah, that's true. I always found that funny. Everyone like sort of calling Bono an absolute dickhead for like why is he wearing sunglasses? And it came out like, I've got
actually he's got a sight problem.
Yeah, but he was wearing like proper full sunglasses for years.
Yeah.
Then he started wearing these tinted jobs, and I think that's when it was glaucoma.
Yeah.
So it doesn't negate the fact he was being a bit of a twat for years before.
He was never upfront about it though, was he? He was always like, it's a little bit of vanity. It's a little bit.
But to be honest, it's none of our fucking business.
Well, no, exactly. This is it. Exactly. It's
come
private.
across like we own these people. It's like if
private to him.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean,
it's just that's what celebrities are known for doing, sort of very strange things, or wearing sunglasses indoors or odd clothing, sort of thing. But no, if that's what you want to do, whatever's going on in your life, keep it private. It's not for us to know.
I mean,
carry on.
The whole sunglasses thing when it first came about, anyway, with Acton Baby was.
I was going to say it was around the time of The Fly.
Well, yeah, it was like it was when they kind of rebranded themselves, and
because he wore those big glasses that were kind of a little bit like Fly's eyes.
Yeah.
So that's where it all started.
But he kind of sort of like
that trend that's still going today.
he started like sort of wear like leather trousers, like kind of like your whole DIY kind of rock star kit. So he had like kind of like Elvis or sort of slick back hair and sunglasses and things like that. So it was almost like very much like an image kind of thing. So they were very much rebranded themselves by then. They were kind of very much what should we say? It was all about it had very much like visual appeal as well. There was stronger than that, so that kind of led into the fact that he always wears sunglasses. So, but I don't know what point that started and the glaucoma came about. So,
he's basically wearing those because he's got a black eye, isn't he?
Yeah, and she just walks in and goes like, tries to explain himself, and she just takes.
This is a boxer's widow. She's probably seen all this shit before.
Yeah,
I think that's the kind of point, isn't it? Like, I've seen all the tricks. Get them off.
Yeah, and he tells her that he quit his job and he's going to go into fighting, and she basically lays it down sort of as to say, look, I've carried your father up those stairs when he couldn't have to. I wiped his ass.
He couldn't use his hand.
And I when I first watched this film, and this is me talking, I've got you know the sense of humour I've got, listeners, but I genuinely thought that was excessive. I was just like, we really don't need that kind of imagery. And the more I've watched it, I'm like, no, that was necessary. That was necessary. If the audience go, ooh, then actually that's entirely the point. That the life of a boxer is not all fucking glamour.
Yeah.
And even one of the greats, like Apollo Creed, occasionally took enough punishment that he couldn't reach parts of himself and needed intimate bodily functions to be dealt with by somebody else.
Yeah,
If that's the future for the greatest of them all, or sorry, the history of the greatest of them all, then that's probably the future for all fighters at some point or another.
Yeah, it's the stuff that doesn't get talked about. It's like the recovery after the fight, that they're like, well, you get severely damaged. You need to recover.
Something like the brain damage and sort of loss of motor skills.
It's not unusual for fighters to be like pissing blood and shit like that the day or two after.
Yeah, because literally they are just beating the shit out of each other. So,
well, yeah, literally.
So yeah, it's a nice little reality check, but she doesn't actually try and stop him. She doesn't condemn him for doing it. She just sort of lays it down, and
again,
this will be the result.
No, I think you're right. I think that you can read as much or as little into it as you want. I think the more I talk about this film, the more I read into it. Now, that could be projection, but I'm just looking at it and thinking, yeah, I think I get the impression they have thought about all of these things, that she hasn't tried to stop him. Well, it's almost like they've thought about it enough that somebody involved in this, be it Sly or Ryan Coogler or the other guy, has said, why wouldn't she try and stop him? And they've got an answer for that. And I feel like a lot of the time during this film, they've got an answer for concerns. Why doesn't she try to stop him? Well, she's the widow of a fighter. She knows that, you can't really stop this.
yeah,
You can try to reason, particularly with someone as smart as Donnie, who's smart enough to have a very, very good white-collar job, and he was about to get his own office, which tells you he was at some degree of seniority. But at the end of the day, if he decides to go out the door, unless you want to be completely estranged from him, you've just got to keep your mouth shut.
it's it's something that you just can't stop, isn't it? You're just like, right, okay, well, it's bar from actually locking him in the house or something, or she could
we got to remember as well, Chris, he's closer to 30 than 20.
yeah, oh yeah, definitely. So
This is a fully grown, mature man who
Yeah.
can do what he wants.
So but apart from condemning him and making sure that you're not letting him what he wants to do, he's only just gonna resent you for it. So what's the point of let him at least learn the hard way?
I feel the character's guilt.
Yeah.
I hadn't thought about that before, and I certainly didn't mention it the first time round. Now I think about it, he's not very comfortable with any of this, is he? It's almost like he's finally made the decision to let his nature win, if you like. But the brain in his head is like, oh God, this is awful. And she had to watch my father die, and you can see he's not very comfortable with it. This is not the way I would have wanted it to unfold. I always had I think they used part of this scene in the trailer. I may be wrong on that. Maybe but this seems a very pivotal scene. But in lots of ways, I just think, is it just me, or is Sylvester Stallone finding extra depth in this character with each outing?
I just think he just lives it. You know what I mean? I think it's like a comfortable jacket he can just sort of slip in and out of, and it's just like he just lives and breathes it. So to me, I find Sly is he's the only person who can actually play that role, which sounds really daft, I know, but it's.
Well, he is Rocky, isn't he? Pretty much.
Well, yeah, I think when he's playing someone for that long as well, and obviously he knows in and out. He's very passionate about it. He wants, he wouldn't want to do this, if it was going to be detrimental to the character and the legacy. So,
I think after 5, that's certainly true.
Yeah,
I think they're whatever you think of 5. I think certainly it's less important what we think and more important what he thinks. And the fact that he really, really was a little bit embarrassed by 5, if we take what he said at face value, I think he's now at the point that he's totally into the quality control of how this character's used.
And yeah, it's just, I think it's just very, it's odd because it's not like a big entrance is not an emotional entrance. You know, we don't open at the graveyard or anything. You know, he's literally just coming up the stairs from the cellar, wearing his glasses, going like, "Oh, who are you?" Almost like surprised.
Well, I mean, to use a flippant example, it was never going to be like the Fonz in Happy Days.
Hey,
he was never going to burst through the door in that load of applause. It's not meant to be his film. But I like the idea that we've kind of just dropped in on his life.
Yeah.
He could have been doing anything at that point. He could have been, could have been earlier in the day at the market or whatever. But it's here, it's this time, and this is what Rocky's up to. The essential decency of Rocky always gets me, in that I think we can all be a bit snobby towards people who aren't that bright. But I never feel that way about Rocky, because he's just so much nicer than we are. Probably not Becca. Becca's nice. But, he's so much nicer than we are that you just love the fact he's so kind to everybody.
He's the Forrest Gump of boxing.
But yeah, what a good egg he is all round. He's nicer than most people. And I just find it engaging that he's got this stranger in his restaurant last thing at night. He's ready to lock up, but he's willing to talk to him. And he engages him, and I just love this scene, and I love where it goes. It's a slowly unfolding scene, which this series hasn't taken its time for a few episodes. I love it. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I think it kind of carries on from last film. Because with Rocky Balboa, we saw obviously he was taking Spidey Rico under his wing, kind of helping him, letting him help out in the kitchen. And that sort of thing. So I think it's just an extension of that, really. It just shows that, underneath it all, he is just like the nicest guy.
I also like there's also the element where like he sort of like he reveals that I'm Apollo's son. He goes like, oh no, that can't be possible. Like, oh, why not? If your phone still works, oh that's right, you haven't called us at his funeral. That little sort of detail just tells you like you can understand why, possibly how we let relationships just sort of slip by, but especially in the...
But it's all very human, isn't
it?
It isn't... You don't listen to that and go, what a twat, not even ring him for 30 years.
You understand, you can understand how these things happen, and, because bear in mind, like, if you watch Rocky 4, he goes straight from that into, like, training to beating him, coming back off the plane, then poverty, and all the rest of it. Plus, also, you got the idea of like maybe doesn't want to think about that idea because he has some sort of guilt.
Would you want to face her after that when you think it was your fault?
Yeah. Well, exactly.
And they address all that here. I love several things about this. So, I mean, one of the things that I'm not so sure about, but I think the film had to do it, is because Apollo was always the opponent. I mean, we know he was unbeaten at the start of the series. We know he'd never been knocked out. We know that, but we don't know much more than that. We know that he's a larger-than-life character, but after that he almost becomes the opponent. And of course Rocky, who is always painted as a limited fighter, beat him. What I think the series has never really sold, and tries to do sort of a remedial job here, is how great Creed was. Now, we know he was the world champion. We know he was a pretty dominant champion. And we know not much more than that. This film basically reminds us that he was effectively Muhammad Ali. He's in the arguments when it comes to the greatest fighter of all time.
Yeah. He's like the favourite answer in this universe to like...
He's Sugar Ray Robinson, Muhammad Ali, etc.
Yeah.
He is. But because he's always been the opponent to our main protagonist, I think that's been a little bit forgotten. We knew he was very, 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 very to infinity good. We didn't necessarily know he was possibly the greatest ever. And this scene tries to at least to redress that balance, to say, no, he was the greatest, time got him, he won the third fight. Whether that's true doesn't actually matter.
Well, there's also a sense of perspective as well. Like, time's a funny thing. So when Apollo was doing his thing, say in the first two Rocky films, yes, he would have been regarded as one of the best.
But you might need time to go.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, I understand that.
So
yes, I do get that.
So that whole attitude. So that might
time. Yeah, we've had 4 decades for his reputation to cement.
Yes. So we've only really seen the tail end of his career, as Rocky says in that scene, like it'll time beat him, it's like it was coming up towards the end of his career, blah blah. So there is that side to it. I think that sort of and plus also the nature of that fact that he's died as well is probably I hate to say that, but that does happen.
No, it's true. It's true. You've only got to look at someone like Ayrton Senna in Formula One.
Yeah.
Ayrton Senna was great, by the way, but he's that sort of half a second greater a lap because he died.
Yeah, it's because sort of shining bright and then going out all of a sudden rather than just fading away. I think that's the
other thing we didn't get. I mean, with Ayrton Senna, we didn't get to see the years where he wasn't quite as fast as he used to be.
Yeah.
No, we missed that with him.
So yeah, I do think that plays. It's difficult to make. So the film does have a job of selling us the fact that this is the legend. Which is a bit odd because given the whole journey of the Rocky story, you think Rocky is the legend. But Rocky is he's probably up there. But
I think it's almost a course correction in that yes, he is one of the greats, but it is like Rocky Marciano against Muhammad Ali. One's a lot more work a day than the other, and the other one is just almost transcendental natural talent. Rocky was a massive overachiever in terms of his natural ability, and the first couple of films tell us that. First one obviously because he's just a local pug, and the second one was limited. He was limited. This limited fighter has captured the public's attention. Even film 6 starts to mention that he overachieved and beat a lot more gifted fighters. But obviously when we were in the midst of 3 and 4, he was just this fucking superhero. And I do think these last couple of films have kind of corrected it. They've put us back to where we were, which is Rocky was just an average pug, but with a complete never say die attitude. But Apollo Creed was just born with the most outrageous natural talent.
Yeah, that.
I think that's what it's telling us anyway.
That's what it is. I mean, to be fairness, you only have to look at how Carl Weathers was in those films, and just how it's very to believe yes, this guy is quite easily the best boxer around. Quite easily because he's ripped, he's confident, he's charming and charismatic and all the rest of it, and also he's convincingly fast and looks like he punches hard. So it's not that.
But it was undermined by the sequels. The problem is that the sequels followed it up with bigger fighters, stronger fighters, and all the rest of it, because they kept having to elevate the threat. And I kept saying that, after 4 they had to dial it back because there was nowhere else to go. And the problem is that makes Creed look like the first level on the way to think of it computer game terms. Drago was the boss level. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And actually, in reality, once you take off that filter of ever-escalating threat that a film series has to give us, actually the best fighter Rocky ever fought was Apollo Creed.
Yeah, definitely, because you think, Clang, Clubber Lang was just Clang. Clang for sure.
Clubber Clang.
I mean, end of the day, they were all really short rounds. He only beat Rocky because Rocky wasn't really prepared.
He was a hard hit. It was always going to hurt Rocky, but
and he came
back.
His game,
he did it quickly.
Yeah. And Drago was just a tree trunk, but it was just someone who was just strong, really strong, tall, and menacing. So, but in terms of actual, and of course Apollo only died because he was probably an older boxer and again wasn't taking it seriously enough.
But the end of this scene, I mean, we've talked a lot about Apollo there, but the whole point is, I don't want to train you. He does believe it's his son. We do get Rocky open up a little bit of no, he was better. He was better than me. You might be special, but you might not be. And no, I'm not doing this. And when he says, the one bit, I think the film does sort of talk about why they fight, what that whole, similarly with what happens with Rocky, what is it about our lives that make us fight? At this stage, I don't really buy into it when he says, I've got no choice, I've been fighting all my life. I thought, yeah, you had a bit of a rough start, but you grew up in quite a lot of wealth.
Yeah.
Rocky does address that. I mean, the film doesn't hide away from it. He says to him, well, you speak pretty well. I think you're educated. And actually, you talk about... And he actually almost addresses his naivety in that Rocky says to him, well, what Rocky is effectively saying to him is that, yeah, okay, you might think you got no choice but to fight, but, actually... And you say your father died doing what he loved, but your father would rather be here. He'd rather be here to meet you. So I love this scene.
Yeah.
I think it's virtually perfect.
You can also read into the fact that at first he chooses not to train him, just where he goes later on, because obviously Rocky is now by himself at this point. So he's always kind of like made up the fact that he wants to keep it that way now. So there's that element to it as well, to like one of the scenes that comes up later on.
So that's the end of that scene. He's now in Philadelphia. He's met Rocky. Rocky's been a complete gentleman, as he always is to him. We found a little bit out about his motivation. We've learned a couple of at least eggs about past Rocky films, if we're inclined to believe them. Where does it go from there? It goes to him getting an apartment and going to Mickey's, doesn't it?
Well, yeah. He's at the apartment and he watches that HBO thing on his iPad about the two boxers, that match that's coming up, and it's yeah. Okay, yeah. It's Tommy, Stuntman Wheeler, and Pretty Ricky Cullen.
Danny Wheeler, I think it is, isn't it?
Danny Wheeler, sorry.
Yeah. They are the number 1 and 2 in the world, so that would be an enormous fight. If you think about any real world equivalent, that's probably a fight that both of them have either been ducking or trying to put together for years. So this is a big deal. What makes it worse is Ricky Collins about to go to prison. He hasn't been sentenced yet, but he's basically on a firearms charge to which he will or has plead guilty. Or pled guilty. Now, that must be really funny to Americans listening, the idea that like carrying a gun around's a problem, but yeah, it is, frankly, here, and long may it remain so.
Yes.
And he is about to go to prison, so it's one last payday. And I actually think the Ricky Conlon character is quite interesting. He's not an actor, we know he's not an actor, but he's genuinely concerned about his kids.
Yeah, there is a level. I mean, he on one hand, he is seen as a cocky twat. But,
which is true.
But on the other hand, he is sort of... I mean, we see at the end of this film as well, there is like... Inside, there is a genuine decent guy, and he's just a guy who I think... as they would say...
Well, there's got to be anger management issues there.
Yeah, I think they would say in Liverpool, he's a bit of a knobhead. He's all right, but he's a bit of a knobhead.
Yeah. I lived in Liverpool for years, so yeah.
Well, yeah. I think they say that in generally like a North thing. So I think that's what it just says to me. It's just a guy who just does daft things, but he just...
In fact, actually, this won't mean a lot to people not in this country, but there's something very Joey Barton about him. In that, actually, there's quite an intelligent guy under it all, but he loses his temper far too quickly and sabotages himself with real silliness.
There's also a sense of showmanship as well, particularly in the in the interviews, the pre-match interview thing. But they even get it
definitely
as it reels later on shortly.
So we're all set up now that they're the best two fighters in the world, and they are both in or around what will likely be his weight class, because we're told he's around 180, which means with a bit of work and training he'll get to 175, which is the light heavyweight limit. He gets an apartment. Do we go to the apartment or the gym first?
Well, just a quick note. Apparently, the announcer on the HBO was Lee Schreiber.
I would never have figured that out.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
So I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know if he actually does any HBO stuff generally, and that's just what they grabbed, or they grabbed that.
I suspect probably because it is taking real, real world situations. I might even look him up just to see if he is like the voice of it or something. But
He must be a sporting fan then, maybe.
Could be a bit of just a Rocky fan, but
Yeah, in between making his TV drama, we're a fan of the Rocky movies. How about that?
And and this is where he first meets Bianca.
Yeah. Becca, you got any great opinions on this person, this relationship?
I think I sometimes in some of the previous Rocky movies, these kind of extraneous love interests, especially in like Barbara and other sort of previous films as well, have been kind of a bit superfluous, really. But I was going to say, the character of Bianca, I think, is really quite interesting. Generally, as we've seen previously, like with Adrian, for example, is a little bit one note. I mean, she's a brilliant actress. Plays the role perfectly. But yeah, is a little bit underserved. But I would say Bianca here, perhaps, she's this is going to sound really cheesy, but like a woman for our times. She's got her own dreams, her own ambitions. There's a little bit of something holding her back by way of hearing difficulty, which she remedies with a hearing aid. But so that's something common to her profession, as a musician. But no, I think she's really well served by the script as well. But no, that's my general views on Bianca.
I mean, thinking about it, there's quite a contrast with the first film in that where would have Adrian been without Rocky?
That's exactly.
And then ask the question, where would have Bianca been without Adonis?
Yeah, they both would have kind of forged their own path, really, but obviously...
No, I actually think quite the opposite. I think
without one, there wouldn't be the other, but obviously in terms of Bianca...
Bianca would have. I think Adrian would have been stuck in the pet shop, looking still very sort of bookish and being very shy. So I
Bianca
think
can forge her own path.
In Rocky, the leading lady needs the man. I think in this film it's not the case at all.
No, definitely. That's why she's very much a modern woman.
Yeah, with a Lisa Bonet air.
very Lisa Bonet. I think that. I mean, I struggle to think how much of an impact she actually has in the film, though. Like, if she was here, would you really miss her? If she wasn't in...
I wouldn't miss her at all. I like her. I think she does a very good job, but I'm not sure what purpose she serves, because if it were to humanise Donnie, well, I think his relationship with Rocky's doing that already.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I struggle to think why it's here, other than the usual, like, okay, we'll need to have, like, various love interests, kind of, like, to have Rocky's Adrian, so to speak. I do think, I'm not quite sure what's the whole point of her having regressive hearing loss is meant to represent. Or...
I wonder if she's a bit of a catalyst in that respect. Obviously, where we had, like, I think Marie, I mean, it's nice to see the character return to the series, but was perhaps not needed. But I wonder if, obviously, because there's a scene later on where she's like, okay, why didn't you tell me that, that Apollo was your father, blah, 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 and, why'd you keep all this from me? Why are you not being 100% with me? So I wonder if that kind of helps to spur him on, almost.
I think there's an element of, again, I might be overreading it, but I just feel there's a lot of transience in this film. Rocky had it perfect for a while, and then she died. Rocky had a career. It's gone. Apollo died before his time, a long way before his time. Adonis doesn't have long left if he wants to make it as a fighter. He's 28, 29 now. In fact, he's arguably almost left it a bit too late already. And then you've got her, Bianca, who she hasn't got long in this career because she's going to lose her hearing. It does, and eventually we're going to see Rocky get ill, and it's like, well, does he want to just make the rest of the time available to him? Does he value time? I do think there is an element of everything in this film is about the fact that time moves on, and not always for the better. So grab what you can from where you are.
Makes sense.
I guess I feel like she's like the weakest element in the film, and it's not necessarily like on her, it's just what is what
it's just the film didn't really have any room for her, or didn't know
well,
what
yeah,
to do.
yeah, exactly. It's just like, well, what?
And it's very like Rocky Balboa that way, because they introduced Marie, and then you got to the end of the film thinking, apart from giving Rocky someone to talk to, what was the point?
Yeah,
I would be inclined to disagree, but we'll have to agree to disagree. But no, I think
tell
she's.
us how
I
you
think.
disagree, that's fine.
Oh no, just as I said before, I think if she wasn't in it, I would probably miss her. I think she's kind of better served by the script than Marie, for example. I do feel that Marie was kind of very, very extra, and you could have left her scenes on the cutting room
I think
floor.
I agree with that. I think she's better served than Marie.
Without kind of being horrible. But I do kind of think she does serve a purpose. And certainly in terms of her characterisation as well, she's kind of more not just a love interest. She's a real woman with her hopes and dreams and goals that she wants to achieve in terms of like the music scene. But I think if you chopped her out, you probably would you'd miss a big chunk from this film.
Your perspective interests me there, Becca, mainly because you're the only female of the three of us, and there hasn't thinking about
standing
it.
up for
yeah. The truth is, without it would become a complete manfest. This film.
That's the point. If you
these
look
films
at
are
the
generally
series,
manifest, aren't they?
I've been perfectly well served by all the characters, but when I think back, the only prominent female in the entire series, did she ever have an interesting fucking line or joke or anything? She was entirely defined by Rocky.
By him, yeah, exactly.
That's not necessarily wrong, bad, or anything. The films were called Rocky, then a number.
Yeah,
they were about
Adrian.
him, so it's not wrong. But at the same time, I'm thinking about it now. Actually, as a woman watching these, I do wonder if someone like Bianca comes along and you go, well, at least they've fucking written a proper female character.
Yeah. But no, yeah, it's just one of those things, really, isn't it? Otherwise, I mean, generally these films have been a bit of a sausage fest. But no, I just think it's quite interesting.
Italian sausage.
Italian sausage fest. And they just kind of, inject that kind of extra, I don't know, sense of femininity into it, I suppose. But she's merely not just a love interest. I would say. I think she does provide that catalyst, give a bit of spur for I could want to call him Creed, and obviously that's kind of his name. For Donnie to kind of move forward and kind of embrace that side of himself.
She's another element for his inspiration, isn't she? Because later when she does say, it's your name, so just use it, and that
use it, be proud of it,
kind of thing. I don't think the film serves her as well as it should, particularly towards the end. I just think there was a few things that didn't really make sense or weren't really drawn out properly. I just would have liked to have some sort of clarity in the script that stated like her actual purpose, like what it means to have her in the film, which I kind of really wanted, because everything else about it is so well done that I kind of just needed that extra element to make it click. So it's just a bit sad for me to watch a character that's actually well drawn and well performed and think
They wasted her.
it's a bit fleeting to see
used
where you really need to be here, kind of thing.
And I'm not even necessarily... I mean, by the end of Rocky, I know it all happens quite quickly, nothing's ever perfect, but I never doubt for a second that the character of Rocky Balboa utterly adores Adrian. I totally buy Adonis really likes Bianca, but I never see it as this real big love. She's just cool and she's good to be around, and he likes her and he's attracted to her.
Yeah.
They get on well.
Yeah, I get. I mean, the thing is though, the two different personalities as well. Rocky's just a big, soft lug of a
Rocky
man,
wants
isn't he?
to take care of something.
Yeah. Whereas you look at, especially like with modern times as well, you've got your two people who kind of really want to be independent, so they got a little bit more. They got a little bit more of a stern attitude, I think, a little bit. So they got more of like,
I mean, for me, I think they've got it. I don't think they've totally integrated it into the story in a way that's of any use to us. But as a piece of characterization on them both, yeah, pretty decent.
Yeah, I mean, you can certainly see them going out with each other. It's not like you think, oh, you'd never be fucking interested, or she would never be fucking interested. But yeah, and plus also, if they do a sequel, it could work out better as well, because it's like this is a beginnings.
Well, you've given the arc some room to grow.
Yeah,
I mean, after the first film or so, Rocky and Adrian had nowhere to go. They were married and he fucking adored her. End of story. She didn't want him to fight. So it was rinse and repeat every film. I don't want you to fight. I have to fight.
So,
and then he fights.
So in hindsight, this might be a good decision to kind of like not show all its cards right off the first.
But it's another. Yes, but it kind of affects the completeness of this film.
It does. It does.
But anyway, so he's got his apartment now.
Yeah. He's not done a door until I told her, "Oh, keep the racket show," and she goes, "No." Sorry then. And then,
No.
Yeah, and then he goes to Mixed Gym to meet. I got this name wrong on the first thing. Is it Sorpino?
Yeah, I think he went with Peter
Didn't quite manage to
Soprano
get his name
last
right, did we?
time.
Yeah, Peter Soprano.
Yeah, I don't really give a shit, to be honest with you. He's not much of a character. We don't see an awful lot of him. He's childhood friends of Rocky, and he basically runs Rocky's gym for him. Rocky's not interested in getting involved in any of that at the moment. It doesn't really look like Mickey's gym, but buildings can change and be reconfigured over decades, so who cares? He's working with a decent light heavyweight prospect, unbeaten in about 15 or 16. We do get the number, but I forget what it was. And he basically he says to Adonis, "You train here, and I'll look in on you when you can." So Adonis just basically goes to work by himself. He's taken what money he's got, doesn't need a job for the time being, has an apartment, and he just goes to a gym he knows is owned by Rocky just to work by himself.
And then after that, don't we see he meets up with Rocky again? He runs up, doesn't he?
Rocky is unloading his van, and we know this from the last film, and I think we see it in this film as well. Rocky's day is very much routine, and his routine is partly early on in the day he'll get supplies for the restaurant, and so he is unpacking that outside of like the service door, and he runs over to help, starts calling him Unc, short for uncle. And he begs for some drills. By drills we mean basically exercise repetition programs.
Yeah, kind of like
3 rounds of this, 2 rounds of that, etc.
Yeah, sort of like training tips almost. So yeah, so Rocky writes something down. He takes a photo of it, and then runs off.
And then we learn all about the youth of today and their mobile technology.
we learn all about the cloud.
I love Stallone in this sequence, but it's a little bit like, I don't know. What am I trying to say, folks?
I must say this is one scene I did find a little bit cringy.
Clunky?
Yeah, clunky, just a little bit.
I found it funny.
Wasn't it? I laughed. I thought it was funny, but then I was just like, oh, cringe, really? But just cringe a bit and move on. That's fine.
Well, I guess, but I think also you have to keep in keeping with it's true to the character of Rocky. I can't imagine Rocky being up to date with technology.
No, he's too busy running his restaurant and all the rest of it. So
it's just not something that I think he would be into. So I think he's not like.
Well, the way he looks out up at the sky afterwards.
Yeah.
Sylvester Stallone. I know he's older, but I mean he can still do all the action stuff.
Yeah.
And he's.
I'm sure in real life he's all over cloud technology.
But he is playing Rocky physically slower. Every movement, even his head, he looks up to the sky and it's a slow, lazy look. I just think there's some wonderful physical acting in this role. That Sylvester Stallone is in his 70s. There's no reason he wouldn't play older. But when he can still play muscled and action and everything else, to give himself over to playing this as a bit of a broken down old man without it coming off as cliche, it's really good.
Yes.
But he's interested now. Rocky's at least interested in this kid. He knows this kid comparatively. He's nearly 30, but this kid is showing interest, and he keeps coming back to him.
Yeah, one could say pushy almost, but so we also get another bit of Donnie seeing Bianca because he sort of like goes in to the gig she's playing at. So he kind of like sort of hears the music outside and sort of like wanders in. So you can imagine like going to like a night venue when you're just sweaty from a jog.
Yeah.
But okay. And then we also learn that about Ricky Collins punched Wheeler and broke his jaw.
Yeah, that's it. They've gone to the press conference, the anticipated fight of the decade, and Conlon has punched Wheeler just in them squaring up after weighing in, and he's broken his jaw. So Wheeler's out for weeks, if not months, and Conlon doesn't have time for a reschedule because he's going to prison at some point soon.
Yeah. So there's there's an open opportunity. Nudge, wink, wink. Basically, after we're done, Donnie asks Bianca out for their first date / not date.
Yeah, is it a date? Is it not a date? We don't know.
Well, technically,
we don't get a lot of local flavour in this series that isn't really negative. In the, the first film we see a bar, but that could have been a bar anywhere. And in the last film we saw a bit of a mouthy young girl in a bar. But when it wasn't playing on the poverty of the area, we didn't get an awful lot of local Philadelphia colour.
No, I must say these films have gone on.
For that reason.
No, I was saying as this series has gone on, I must say that characters of Philadelphia, or certainly in terms of the locations, they don't appear as much as characters in the film. I know that sounds a bit dodgy, but like you kind of got Philadelphia,
I agree.
California, and that sort of thing. They sort of really loom large and look like the making of the characters. But as it's kind of gone on, obviously you know about Philadelphia, we're familiar with it now, and also going to sort of for Apollo Creed, going back to his sort of training ground, using his gym. It was a real character in the film, but I'm not feeling it so much here. I mean, there's too much going on.
I think this film is the first time it's done it.
Oh yeah, no, this is probably one of the only
prominent
series, but
it is doing it here. Sorry.
Yeah, no, it's doing it here for sure. But generally,
it's
in
just
the film,
nice
it's lacking
that
so far.
he's new to town.
Yeah, exactly.
Of course, he'd want to orient himself to it.
Yeah, he's going to go up, find somewhere where all the locals go.
And they're all really nice to him.
Yeah.
So cool.
And I really want to try a Philadelphia cheesesteak.
Yeah.
Not a cheesecake.
Not a cheesecake.
Not a cheesecake. I'm not really quite sure what one is, but I wasn't really paying that much attention, but I want to try myself, yeah.
If there's any meaty involved, I could probably give it a wide berth, but it looks yummy.
That's because you're mad. You just eat lentils and weeds. While we're gnawing on half a cow.
Lentils, rice and peas.
You should eat meat, it's good for you. It's good natural protein. It's
Yeah, I can get plenty of that elsewhere, I think. Yep. But no, anyway, it's always good to kind of go with the sort of local colour and eat what the people eat for sure. So
yeah,
how does
he get Rocky interested? Where do we go from there?
Well, basically, Rocky. Next scene we see Rocky actually go to the grave. And I know this scene always tears me up now.
Yes, this is where we see it.
So
bless you, really.
Well, it's just sad, isn't it? He sits,
yeah, it is a bit emotional, isn't it?
Yeah,
had something in my eye.
It is both I like Talia Shire, by the way, and I think she's really good in the Godfather films, particularly the second one when she goes off the rails a bit. But I've always felt Adrian is poorly served here. I think she's necessary. I want Rocky to be in love and have someone who can look after her and everything. But I think it says a lot that's not necessarily positive about her character, and an awful lot that's positive about both Burt Young and Paulie, that I found it much, much more jarring and painful when I realised Paulie was dead as well, because I didn't know before I went into this film, than I did when I found out Adrian was gone. It hurt me more. I really miss Burt Young in this film.
What was the reason for that, do you think?
I think the film... Thinking about it, I think the film series took Rocky and Adrian's chemistry and partnership almost for granted. That we see them fall in love in the first film, but it happens very quickly. And then thereafter... of course he loves her, she's his wife sort of thing. Paulie, we see an awful lot of Paulie and Adrian together. Ups and downs in their Paulie and Adrian, sorry. We see an awful lot of Paulie and Rocky together. And the ups and downs in their relationship. And also Paulie was a really complex character. The only character I can think of off the top of my head that's a bit like him is Sipowicz from NYPD Blue. In that Sipowicz was a racist, wife-beating alcoholic. And yet the show found a way to make you root for him really hard. And saying the words racist, alcoholic, wife beater almost sounds indefensible, but the show manages to find a way. Now, whilst Paulie's not that bad, he's a fucking pig. And at different times in the series, you don't know whether he's going to open his mouth and say something really kind, or open his mouth and abuse the only people in his world that love him. He's both a freeloader and someone who desperately wants to work. And he was portrayed with such compassion and love and nuance by Burt Young, who I always got the impression loves his character every bit as much as Sly loves Rocky. That when he went, it leaves a real hole. I think it's quite valid he is dead. I don't think it hurts this film per se, but as a fan of the series, yeah, it really, really got me when I realised Paulie was dead.
Yeah. So also, I think it also means the fact that Rocky is now alone officially.
Yes.
Yeah, that he hasn't got any of these old cronies around him, as it were. Cronies is about
Paulie gave him purpose. I mean, it's little things like...
He hasn't got any of his family around him.
Well, in the last film, we saw him put Paulie's cereal bowl out in the morning. Tiny little things, but things that would give you purpose.
Yeah.
And now that's gone. And it's Paulie's birthday, isn't it?
Yeah.
He pours a bit of whiskey on the grave.
Yeah, happy birthday.
Got him his favourite, and they got some flowers for his wife. And and it's just something really
touching moment.
Really, yeah, it's really touching to think that, Rocky must go there every day and just read the paper. And it's just like something really sort of like really heartening about that. It's just really sort of...
Yeah, and that was a real kind of something in my eye. Oh.
Yeah, definitely. Heart just goes, oh, every time we get to that kind of thing. I feel for Rocky. So yeah, he basically goes to read the paper and he pauses and he sort of thinks we kind of see him sort of go, maybe I should do this. Maybe I should go and train the kid. So he goes back to Mick's gym and decides he's gonna train Donnie, much to
yes, the film noticeably speeds up from there, doesn't it?
Yeah. Much from is it Sorpino? It's like
from Pepe Le Pew.
Yeah, Pepe Le Pew.
I don't remember the genesis of that, but I was calling him that all the way through the last review, and I can't remember. I think it was Chris.
Yeah, I can't remember why.
I think Chris probably said something a bit and I went Pepe Le Pew.
The Russian gangster in the Dark Knight.
Which actually I should know because I love the Dark Knight, but I don't think it ever really occurred to me.
What, that it was him, or the actor's name?
It's a little bit like I didn't realise it was fucking, Sharky in the second film. Even though I've seen both films multiple times and they're both amongst my favourites.
Yeah.
I don't think I made that link to this one. But he starts training him. He's a very different trainer as well than he was the first time round, because when he trained Tommy, I think he was still a frustrated fighter, but not only that, he was trying to be not himself, he was trying to be Mickey. And in that film, it was a bit of a retcon on Mickey, but we had Mickey coming out with all those customato phrases about fire and fear and nature being very smart, which I mentioned in the first episode, I think, which I forgot was in 5, but customato saying, nature takes things away from you until you're ready to die. And he was starting to say all this stuff to Tommy, and it wasn't him. He was just projecting Mickey.
Yeah, like what he knew as well. Yeah.
Now we're decades on, and Rocky has found his voice as a trainer. And it's all really humble as well.
Yeah.
I love it.
Well, yeah, he kind of like sort of... It's in the trailer in this, but he sort of stands in front of the mirror and he sort of like, guy's saying that he's your biggest opponent. I believe it's true in the ring, I believe it's true in life. And he basically sort of makes him spar against himself in front of a mirror, which I suppose is probably good for your technique, isn't it? I guess.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know.
You look a bit
all right in the film.
Yeah, you look a bit daft, but yeah, basically Rocky starts training him, and doesn't he get an offer from Peter Soprano or Pepe Le Pew?
Yeah, they set him up with the fight with that kid in his gym, basically.
Well, yeah, with his son.
He has to drop £5 to do it, but that's actually nothing. Most fighters, when they're not in training, it's nothing. It really isn't. Most fighters a couple of days after a fight are like £15 heavier or so anyway, so that's no big deal. It then becomes they go to a different gym, largely because, Pepe Le Pew and his ward are were there first, so that's fair enough. So they go to a different gym the other side of Philadelphia.
And we get the first. He moves in with Rocky now, doesn't he?
Yes.
Yes, he moves in with Rocky.
Which is great because Bianca had absolutely no fucking idea this uncle was Rocky Balboa.
Yeah.
Legendary heavyweight.
I like how that plays out as well, because it kind of plays out as if, you assume she might not know, as if, so, what, your uncle's white? And kind of yeah, and then as soon as, he goes in a van, you kind of want to forget, how come, Rocky would be a local celebrity, and she just says, how can you tell me your uncle's Rocky Balboa?
Yeah, I mean, he is one of the greats.
Yeah.
This film postulates Apollo was better, but he's still one of the greats.
He'd still be well known in that area as well. He'd be
He'd be well known everywhere, but certainly in that area, because he's always in the market and things like that. So I really like that. That's kind of cool. And what I love about it is Rocky doesn't expect or need to be recognised. He's just another guy in the town. He's always so humble.
Yeah.
So don't we then go to Rocky waking him up with a load of music and dancing?
I love this.
How fucking charming!
This is how we get started,
How charming is Sylvester Stallone in that scene?
It's lovely, isn't it? It's a lovely little scene. It's it's a training. This is how we start training, and he starts doing a little boogie and gyrating.
And again,
he stole my dance moves.
Another thing, he's found his own voice. Mickey wouldn't have done that.
Yeah,
Mickey wasn't fucking fun-loving in any way.
No, he's quite serious and quite a hard slave driver.
No, it's just a fun sort of come on, you're going to get you up and do it. But he does the thing of no, you're going to run while I drive.
While I drive this van, you're going to chase me. But he kind of goes back to the old tactics that Mickey uses as well, sort of chasing a chicken around the garden and trying to catch him in a certain amount of time. And doing things trying to run up the steps and drinking all his eggs. And
I like how it wrapped up slower. We're saying chickens obviously getting slower.
Yeah, he's not getting faster as the chickens are getting slower. Yeah.
We sort of he makes him run we know it's it was in the early hours of the dark hours of the morning, and it's bright. It's full sunshine by the time we get to the gym.
How long have they been running?
Yeah, exactly.
Hours?
Must have.
How far away did you say this gym was? Far enough.
So he starts training here. Rocky obviously is not a full-on trainer. He's sort of he's more there at the side, giving advice and motivation.
It might be an early clue he's not very well. I don't know if that was in their intentions, but he admits to there's things he can't do now, and that does include
just
things
because of his age,
that.
perhaps.
Yeah, that may be it, but we do see him doing that a bit later on, so I do wonder if he just feels tired all the time because he's getting sick.
Yeah, it's your standard sort of training sort of montage, no hearts on fire or anything, but we do build on that. And then we get to the match night, and I really like the idea that Donnie needs a shit before.
Yeah, gloves on and everything.
Yeah,
it's all cut me out, I need to go, and it's just oh.
But again, it's also real and human. None of us have played any kind of sport at elite level or performed in public or anything.
Imagine that's what it would be like when you're super nervous. You gotta go.
But there's bodily functions like that or vomiting, depending on how you're kind of wired, or peeing even, has a very close sort of relationship with nerves.
It's your body sort of tries to give you distractions. It's no, you need to do this instead. Because your mind's going oh, nervous.
Like really, isn't it?
Yeah.
I kind of like that. But we also find out that Rocky's school friend, the other trainer, knows he's a Creed.
Yeah. He's made some phone calls, figured out who he is, and he's a bit miffed how we didn't tell him. But Rocky says, well, okay, I'm sorry, but kid just wants to make it on his own. Do you mind just keeping it? And he's like, yeah, sure. As in that kind of, no, I'm not. So you have the match, and I think the fight sequence is pretty it's really well done. You forget how it's, because the camera sort of almost like just goes all around the ring, doesn't it? It kind of follows through.
Seems really fluid.
And
I was always more impressed by what was going on in the venue as a whole, than just the ring, because they've had to. Maybe this is a negative sign in that you can say, well, if I'm trying to decipher the mechanics of it, maybe the scene hasn't taken me enough. I don't know, but I know that we finish a round. He goes back. Sylvester Stallone steps in at exactly the right time, crouches in the right position, says everything he should, gets out of the ring, the fight carries on, and then just as he's about to knock him out, the camera spins around and Rocky's in like the middle of that side of the ring, just about to say something. And the choreography that must have gone into that is extraordinarily impressive. Almost following the two fighters is almost the easy bit.
Yeah.
I was really impressed by this.
I think it's just the slickness that you actually almost forget about the camera. You just kind of like just get engrossed in the fight itself, and it just feels very natural. The whole thing. Well, like technically, it's actually impressive. Just as impressive as the entirety of Birdman, which I'm sure Dave will agree on.
I'd like you two to do a podcast on that film. Actually, that'd be interesting.
We haven't done a podcast on that film, but we did talk about it in a podcast.
No, we didn't mention it last time.
I was extremely negative about it. I really, really don't like Birdman.
Not a fan, are you?
I think we could waste a lot of time talking about it now, but I do think the whole one take thing, it's been done. So
be a bit pretentious, can't it?
It's got to have a purpose, otherwise you're just fucking wanking off. As it is, I think this is kind of somewhere between the two. I think the director is going, look at me. But having said that, you're effectively in the 7th Rocky film. So if you can bring new tricks to the table and make them work, then do it. Let's have something a little different. A fight has not been staged like that in this series so far. And it's staged very well.
Yeah.
So he wins his first fight. They're all really happy.
Yeah. So yeah, they sit down and celebrate by watching Skyfall and eating ice cream and popcorn.
Yeah, they've fallen asleep before we even get to the London Underground.
Rubbish. They clearly haven't listened to our podcast, have they?
Well, they might have, actually.
They travelled back in time and did it.
They might agree with me, Becca, and might think, Skyfall, that's a bit overrated.
Maybe, yeah.
That's a bit overrated.
They might think it's a bit overrated.
Chris has never claimed to fall asleep during it, to be fair.
No. But I'm a dedicated diehard Bond fan, so...
I was going to say, being critical about any of the films, I think we're all a bit horrified at the idea of falling asleep to a Bond film. But anyway.
How dare they?
Yeah, so they fall asleep and then wake up and have a little bit of action.
In front of the turtles as well.
Totally fucking unnecessary, but fine.
Bad for Cuff and Link at this stage.
So he's
They should be shielded from this, their innocence.
of 40 years old.
And plus being a different species altogether.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a sexy scene, which is very cool.
Alright.
And then at breakfast next day, they're all pretty happy about it, and then Bianca finds out that he's the son of Creed because it's been leaked online. It's been leaked to the press.
Yeah, and you've got the press discussing whether it affects Apollo's legacy and everything like that. I don't know if that would actually be a real conversation.
No, they make a sort of thing of because of like the legitimacy of it, but I don't really think it would.
With someone else. Well, I mean, it's not unusual for elite sportsmen, particularly fighters, to be promiscuous. So I'm not saying they all do it. I'm not casting any aspersions, but I don't imagine this being a real conversation around fighters. Maybe
I think of somebody in real life that it could maybe relate to, but
maybe not on like an actual proper sports program, but it's definitely tabloid shit. So I can kind of see it in some way. For and a lot
of the greats were extremely promiscuous. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
And his closest model is Muhammad Ali, and Muhammad Ali was very promiscuous.
Yeah, I mean, like, I think it's more because he's got a son who's boxing, and is he going to be any good? And there's also like sort of, no possible ways, like too big a name to.
The cat's out of the bag now,
Yeah.
anyway. And Graham McTavish, who's best, I know him as Ackerman from Red Dwarf 8, is the trainer and manager of Condor. Well, he's certainly the manager, anyway. Sees this and is now seeing an angle for how they can make Conlon some money before he goes to prison.
Yeah, which is to kind of like fight the closest you can do for basically the son of Creed.
Basically, the son of the greatest.
Yes, I know. Tony Callow.
Tony Bellew, I think.
Bellew, sorry. He's not an actor, but his first few lines really are awful.
Yeah, I must say it did stand out for me a little bit. I get the idea that he's a fighter and not an actor, but it did. It's like somebody of my quality trying to do it, for example. But no, overall, I think he does, really right in the role. And just like those initial kind of few lines do sound a little bit forced.
Yeah, I mean, he's good when he's doing the trash talk and he's like in the ring, because I think he's basically playing himself in this film.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah,
and
I
it's
would probably say
fine.
the same.
And actually, it's not unusual. There's something in the sort of quality of the Scouse voice that sometimes when you hear Scousers interviewed, they do sound like they're reading it.
Yeah,
it's just something in the accent. Not all of them, and not always, but it's not necessarily bad acting per se. He basically calls Rocky at home and says, "Can we meet?" And they agree, and they meet at Adrian's about 2 days later. And he says that he says exactly what's happening. What I love is Rocky's like, yeah, he knows you're a sure thing.
Yeah,
and he doesn't play that. It's actually quite insightful in a series where Rocky's often been portrayed as a bit silly or dumb, but it doesn't seem contradictory to the character. But yeah, Rocky's been about a bit. He's not silly. He knows.
Yeah.
But he says you're going to have to take the Creed name. It's actually quite a subtle performance from Michael B. Jordan because he visibly bristles at it without really grandstanding. He does not like this idea that he's going to have to take this fucking name.
Yeah, I guess the whole idea is he's like, it's the big shadow and it's the expectation to get to that standard, and he'd rather do it without anyone knowing, or at least achieve to the highest standard, and then be like, oh, by the way, I'm Apollo, so kind of like just to kind of prove everyone his worth, I guess. But
yeah, there can't be any allegation of nepotism if literally nobody knew.
Yeah. So, at first, I mean, Rocky's thinking he's not ready, but big opportunity. He's unsure because it is a big opportunity, but he's like, no, I'm not on this terms. But Bianca convinces him, look, it's your name. Use it. Be proud of it. So he goes, all right then.
It's very like the fighters fight conversation from the last film with Marie.
Yeah,
they start training for it.
Yeah, he gets a bit excited. He goes, "I'm fighting Ricky Gallen," and then
which I don't like much.
Well,
that's a bit of an odd scene. I think it falls a bit flat for me.
Well, it makes me think: was there like meant to be a reaction shot of Rocky looking and going, like, "What are you doing?"
Yeah,
because there isn't
one.
Because it kind of like he shouts it and he kind of like his camera stays at him and his face kind of falls, it's just sort of like, oh, that didn't get much. Is this
didn't get the reaction that we hope.
It's just a bit odd. I'll be curious to see if there was like meant to be a reaction shot of Rocky. I don't know, but
maybe there was. There's also something, but it left on. It got cut out for brevity.
It doesn't matter. He's excited about his shot. I don't particularly love it, but it's okay. It's not exactly ruining the film or anything. They start training. It's all very committed. But what I love here is, Sylvester Stallone has been dropping it in for the last few scenes without us knowing. He started looking tireder and breathier, and it's actually slowly ramping up. And you don't notice it till you go back and you know this stuff.
Yeah,
Rocky's getting sick, and it's hiding in plain sight. We don't see it happen till they're sparring, and suddenly Rocky wants to stop because he's exhausted. And next thing you know, he vomits,
and then collapses. And so they go to like the doctors, and
he's kept in overnight to be given some fluids, and then they run some tests, which he gets the result of the next day. He takes it all very well in terms of on the phone, and he's got to go in, but he's diagnosed with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma.
This the other scene that sort of gets to me. It's just this pure acceptance of it. It's just okay. No, I'm good. I'm good at He's even though he's told like, oh no, it's we caught it in the early stages. We can.
I looked this up actually, Chris. I was looking up non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. The survival rate to 5 years, which tends to be the key, is 71%, which means not bad in cancer terms.
Yeah.
It's a survivable cancer, particularly if they catch it early. And they tell him in the film they called it early. So this is survivable, but he misses all of that. Because he just hears cancer, thinks of Adrian, thinks of the state of his life, and goes, yeah, that's fine, I've had enough.
Yeah, I think it's like what was going before, the fact that he maybe was training Donnie or do any of that because he doesn't want to get attached to anything. He's happy to get... He's essentially waiting to die, so he's just like...
And he has been for like 15 years.
So he's just like, I'm kind of done, so he accepts it. He's like, yeah, no, I'm good. Which is almost heartbreaking. You think, of all people, you see the guy who is never given up fighting for anything has stopped fighting.
He's giving up.
And it's that's what it is that makes you go, oh, no. That's the one that kind of just sinks your heart a little bit.
And there's so many little subtleties in it as well. It's not like he immediately goes, oh, all right then.
Yeah.
There's a moment where he looks like, oh God, that was the word I was dreading. But it's not pain or fear. It's kind of I knew this would happen one day. You can read an awful lot into the looks in this. He doesn't tell anybody.
It
goes back to training.
It's just the subtlety of the dialogue as well. It's just like, my wife tried that. And it's fine. It's
almost... The scene is defined by what he doesn't say as much as what he does.
Yeah. That's it. Yeah, that's it.
Do you agree with that, Becca? Yeah.
I do. Yeah, I think the performance of it certainly is very much driven by that. I think that this for me is one of the most heartfelt sort of scenes. I was just knocked for six by it and was like,
beautiful, isn't it?
Yeah, it's very sad, but just the way it's done, it's very kind of, as you said, kind of just what he doesn't do and what he doesn't say.
Yeah, but it's all hints at memories he doesn't want to go into. But we're told enough that if you've never seen a Rocky film before, you know exactly what he's trying to say. She was diagnosed with cancer. They enthusiastically went into all the chemotherapy, radiotherapy, surgery, anything they had to do, and it failed. And he's known other people die since, which makes me wonder, did Paulie die of a short battle with cancer?
Yeah.
In which case he's like, cancer beats you.
I sort of wondered the same,
Actually, I've only just thought about it because I just thought Paulie either died of a heart attack or a fucking damaged liver or something. But
probably.
Thinking about it, it's just another one.
His drinking ways got him.
He's gonna name check his wife because that's the one he really cared about.
Yeah.
But when he says later on, when he's talking to Donnie about it normally beats you, you've seen a few people die of cancer, and I do.
He's seen how it goes, and
Paulie could well be one of them.
You'd actually find that out how it goes, really, do we? But anyway.
There may not even be a canon explanation, Becca. It's gone. They may not even know.
No, just for emotional purposes. Anyway, moving on.
So he takes information and puts it in his pocket, and then Donnie finds out pretty quickly. He finds it and confronts him about it, and I think this is kind of thing because I think for Donnie's situation, you have the only living father-esque figure in his life who he now knows and likes and looks up to, and Rocky's justifying his decision not to get treatment by telling him that he's not family. And just imagine what that will do to him. Is that's almost like just equally as crushing to him to hear that. And and so it.
But again, a worse actor, worse writer, worse performance, it would have been spat out almost petulantly.
Yeah.
Oh, come on, you're not even my fucking family. It's not actually ever played like that. Rocky's trying to explain what he means and kind of chooses the wrong words.
Yeah.
That's all.
Yeah, I think you could say he's almost pushed him to say that as well, because like I think Donnie even says, "Oh, I thought you were like family to me," you know, and he says he's trying to cut him off to kind of protect him from the pain of you don't want to see me go through this shit.
Exactly,
and yeah, so
this really got to me. I have to say, like I say, I first watched it on a rip, and I had to pop out for about 20 minutes, and I just left the film running. And I came back. And I got the gist of the entire film, but I didn't see Rocky get sick or get diagnosed.
Oh wow!
I knew.
I missed a great chunk of that.
Exactly. I knew that like something was wrong because he's clearly like bald and no eyebrows and all the rest of it in the fight at the end. But I missed so much of the emotional heart of this film. It on paper, I'd be skeptical if I read Rocky was going to fight cancer because it just seems like fucking pulling an emotional heartstring. But it's a logical, almost final act. Maybe we get onto that with sequels in a minute. I don't want a sequel.
One last fight, but maybe not the last fight.
No, it's more the fact that he's fought all his life, but then he started losing things. He started losing things with Mickey. And the logical extension of that, in Custom Outlaws' words, is he gets ill himself.
Sure.
And then and this film is so much about why we fight. Why does a little rich kid fight? Why does he want to fight? And why does Rocky fight at this stage? We don't go up the steps to the museum until the very end of the film because it's not Rocky's film. It's deliberately not Rocky's film and not Rocky's story. But he finds a way to integrate his life with Adonis and finds like a fourth act for his life. And then they can go up the steps because they are together. And I think all of these things give the film an enormous depth that rewards repeated viewing. So where do we go from there? He gets sick. He does eventually agree to the chemotherapy. We see an awful lot of Adonis training around the hospital, running up the steps.
Yeah, he says, "Oh, you can still train here. You can shadow box."
Well, there's bits before that. I mean, Donnie goes to that big gig that Bianca got, and
he gets into a fight with his.
He punches.
He
his headliner.
Yeah.
Who, in fairness, was being a bit of a dick. Donnie was not in the best of places, but
he just found out he was diagnosed. Yeah.
Yeah, but he sort of like he just has to say, "No, don't call me that." He said, "Like, what'd you say?" It's like, look.
All he had to do was say, "Oh, I meant it." And he says something like, "I meant it with love" or something like that.
Yeah.
It could have been left there.
Yeah. But
Donnie is constantly going around with something to prove.
And so that upsets Bianca. She just basically punched the headliner.
So he ends up in the cell, and Rocky goes in to see him.
Yeah.
Kind of apologises for his earlier behaviour. I think part of seeing the boy so lost probably does help with his decision to take chemotherapy. Yeah. And
then I really like the how the training plays out, because when Rocky starts to get treatment, because it's just how casually he's sort of like, he's there, goes up to see him and he just pulls out a stopwatch. It's like, well, you can start sparring here now. And it's like, yeah, it's almost like they're just like, well, just putting training aside for now until you get, until we sort things out. And Rocky's like, no, you can start training here.
No,
so he's like there.
We've still got a schedule.
Yeah. And I really like that. I really like the idea that the notion of Rocky's training Donnie for the fight, and at the meantime, Donnie's looking after him, fighting this cancer. It's like they've given each other. They're
fueling each other.
Yes, they've both given each other the reason to fight, which I think is really, really nice sentiment.
I like that. This film is. I don't know that it necessarily comes to any answers, but if you said to me, be as poncy as you like, tell me what this film's about, it is why we fight. And I like all of this. I like all of this. There's no vanity in Stallone's performance.
No.
We see him getting very, very sick, looking very, very bad, his hair getting very thin. Yeah, this is a brave decision to take the character in this direction, and it takes me with it. It really does. I don't feel emotionally manipulated by any of this at all. I think it's a logical place to take a character of near 70 who kind of wants to die anyway.
And and possibly I say before, we don't get the traditional Rocky steps at the end of the training montage. He's like running with bikes, and he's there like it's almost like sort of not shouting, but chanting almost. With...
The other thing is those steps were always about Rocky conquering his goals.
Yeah.
So he would always there was something about when he climbed those steps the right way, he was ready. And of course, at this point, he's sick. I think it's entirely appropriate that they scale it together at the end of the film.
Yeah.
Because Rocky's winning his battle, and Adonis is winning his battle with his dad's legacy and everything else. And their lives are now properly integrated, that they're part of each other's path.
Yeah.
So I like all of that. Not only that, forget all that Ponzi shit I've just talked. On top of that, it's quite also the fact that it gives the film a different look and identity. It's not just a Rocky film, but substitute in this other guy.
Yeah. Well, that's what I mean by it says it sort of does the things that you want from a Rocky film, but does it differently enough. It still has the steps, but it just has them at the end, and it's done in a different way, so you're satisfied from that. Still does the training montage thing, but has its own take on it. So it still gives you the things that you want and expect from a film that has Rocky in it, but it does enough new things to make it its own thing for this new character.
So then we go to St. George's Hall.
Then we go to Liverpool, with a press conference
In the pond.
with the most. I just love the first reporters it's the most scouse reporter ever in the world.
They are a bit, aren't they?
Yeah.
So
I bet he's called Terry.
So Rocky, do you know where?
Yeah.
I forget what the question is. Do you think give him the legacy that it's like yeah?
It's like,
I wonder if you do a really good Scouse accent, Chris. Come on.
Sorry.
he
I wonder if you do a really good Scouse accent. Come on.
I used to be able to do it pretty well.
Just go. Eh.
Yeah, calm down.
Also, it's quite funny when I went into a shop one day and pointed out, I was a sports store and I wanted a new rucksack, and I pointed at the one I wanted, and literally, firstly, the most Scouse name in the world is Terry, and secondly, it's the noise on everything. And honestly, I pointed at it, and he needed to shout to the guy at the back of the storeroom to go and get one out of stock. And firstly, the guy was called Terry, and then he asked him to get a Nike black backpack.
Oh god.
Nike black backpack. That was Nike black backpack. And if any Scousers want to discuss this further with me, I'll be in the Lake District. Yeah, so we go to the press conference.
That sounds very seductive, Dave.
I'm not offering you a dirty weekend. I'm just giving you erroneous information as to where I'll be. I don't give a shit about this press conference particularly, but it just reminds us that Adonis is still a bit short-tempered, Rocky's still cool as a cucumber, and Tony Bellu's a bit of a twat in this.
Yeah, take it or leave it, really.
Don't really care.
Yeah, well, it's part of
nice to see St. George's Hall as someone who lived there for so many years, but yeah.
Yeah, it's nice to see that monument, isn't it, I think?
It's partly down to his performance, he's Tony Bellew or Ricky Collin is picking on his weaknesses of saying look, you just you're a false creed, as he says in the
And witty.
Yeah. Just basically says I'm going to knock him down. It's going to be sort of just try and belittle him a little bit, and they get a little bit of argy-bargy. Almost if he's not learned anything from last time round.
No.
Yeah, no, because he even starts with something about how he's been working on anger management and stuff.
Yeah.
Loses his shit within about 90 seconds of that. But yeah.
Yeah, forgets it all.
So the fight's going to take place at Goodison Park, one of two major football stadia in Liverpool. It belongs to Everton.
Yeah.
Who certainly in the last sort of 20 to 30 years have been the sort of lesser of the two teams in Liverpool in terms of success. But historically, they have won, league titles and European trophies as well.
Fun fact, I think my dad supports Everton, mainly because his godfather used to.
It's not that fun. No one listening knows your dad.
No, I think it's a fun fact. It's really random as well.
Some bloke you never heard of, likes Liverpool and Everton. Yeah, no.
Fun fact.
Fun fact: I support Liverpool.
There you go.
There you are.
So yeah, that's the other ground that we don't see in this, and don't see any supporters of.
The ground that should not be appearing in this film.
Yeah. Goodison Park actually definitely needs a serious upgrade. It's a bit tired now, but when they were making Rocky Balboa, he was invited there by Bill Kenwright. Sylvester Stallone, the owner of the club, was invited him there to watch a game. So I'm not suggesting he's a big fan of the sport by any stretch of the imagination.
I think he's a big supporter, isn't he? Though I think.
That's what I'm saying. I doubt he is in reality, but he would identify himself as an Everton fan while he was on the subject.
I think I read somewhere that he does.
Yeah, but it all dates back to that when he was invited there. So he obviously remembered that and remembered Liverpool and wanted to film a bit there and all the rest of it. It's done as an HBO presentation again. We do get all the build-up and everything else. And then we're into the fight. Yeah,
it kind of really moves quickly from like Liverpool and straight into the fight. We get a little bit at the hotel and things like that, and Bianca comes along after having a fight with Donnie about getting about the whole deal that happened at the gig. It's not really said why she's back. She's just back. We also get like a gift from Donnie's mum, or like foster mum, adopted mum. Should we probably more accurate? Should we say?
Yeah. Well, just it's his mum, isn't it?
Yeah, and
I know she's not, but she is.
And it's I don't know if it's Creed's original boxing shorts.
No, it's
or
not.
New.
It's the same style, and it's got the name. It's got both names on it.
Yeah.
His mother's name, which was the one he's carried all the way through, which is Johnson, and Creed on the front. And it's just reminding him of his legacy, but also buying into it a little bit.
Yeah.
I'm sure she doesn't want him to fight, but it's her way of accepting it and accepting the path he's taking.
Well, we see her watch the fight.
And also,
as well.
he is a Creed, so why wouldn't he dress like a Creed?
Yeah, exactly. And we also see like her watching the fight as well.
Which demonstrably she finds tough.
Yeah,
like you'd expect her to.
So so we get into the fight, and it's really well. I think the fight is really well handled.
It's a lot better than what we had last week.
Yeah, I mean, last week wasn't bad. But
I actually thought Stallone was the problem, and again, he's very good physically, but I don't know if it was his age or the fact that he improvised a lot. But it looked like a professional boxer against like someone who's never fought. This one doesn't. Now it is against a professional boxer against a guy who's never fought, but they hide it a lot better.
I mean, in the first round, it's pretty much as you expect. Ricky.
It's pretty one-sided for a bit.
Yeah, pretty much wins the first round quite easily, and everyone's like, okay, well, this kid isn't too much. And it's only in the second round, towards the end, where he kind of he lands a hook, a right hook, and cuts him straight off the bat.
Yeah,
and you kind of like tell that he's shocked by that because he's like, "What? He's cut me!" Like he's like trying to touch his face, like checking, and it just ends on like both of them just literally just blow it out, taking blows at each other, which is kind of like sort of like step up the game, sort of say right, this kid's nothing to mess with. So it from there,
and Rocky's giving real sounding advice.
Yeah.
He sounds like trainers sound in the corner. They do give specifics. They don't just stand there and talk about heart. They suck it up and this is your whole life here, like we got from Duke in 4. They do actually give practical advice. You will hear trainers saying, look, no, you're drilling down and then firing over the top. You need to push down and then come up underneath. And that is the sort of thing Rocky is saying to him. The fight is staged pretty well. I think the only problem I've got with any of this is it is a bit of a reprise. It's staged a little differently, but the last round or so of the fight reminds me a bit of fights I've seen before. The way they go to a split decision reminds me of what we've seen before, which is kind of why I don't want a sequel, because there's such an obvious retread direction to take it in. Don't bother. But it's solid. It's good. It's just the right length. It doesn't go on too long, but we don't skip over it either. We've got that HBO presence we had in the last film that really lauds what he's doing here. The other thing I really like is the whole when he can't see, the tap on the back of the neck to tell him how many.
That's got to be like such an old trick. I can't believe they fell for that.
Yeah, it's got to be real though. I would think that's real.
But but that how bad is that eye? Jesus Christ! Like
it's completely closed. There's no way you could see anything. And again, it's quite consistent as you go through the film because that's the eye that gets damaged a little bit in his first fight that we see.
Yeah.
And so you think, right, okay, well, that's where he's likely to be damaged because he's obviously more hittable there. And it does slowly get damaged up over the fight. They have thought about the language of the fights in that you watch the first fight and you can see how and where he's likely to get hit and hurt. And we see some of it in the Baloo fight. It's like, well, it was always that eye that was going to close because we saw it damaged first fight.
So they even thought about how it would work in the fight, in the fights themselves. So. Yeah. Oh, that's pretty good. I haven't noticed that myself personally, but then I probably won't.
I only noticed it on a rewatch when I watched that first fight and thought, hang on a minute, he's just damaged the eye that will later get closed in that other fight.
Yeah.
And I got to think that's probably deliberate.
So
he wasn't ready to fight Tony Baloo.
Yeah.
Or fight Ricky Conlon.
But then again, that's part and parcel of the.
That's the whole point.
The retread of the original. Really, it's that kind of element. The whole idea. I mean, with this, it's like, well, no one's ever knocked me down, so obviously well, that's going to be the win for him. It's he's not going to win the match, but he's going to be the first person to knock him down. And
he actually says to him at the end, "You're the future of this division."
Yeah. Well, so what do you think about the last round? Because I think by the time we got to that last round, what I actually got from this rewatch was the fact that he actually found his inner creed, as in he actually sort of put on he actually found his actual father inside, and so for that one final round, he showed the world Apollo Creed again.
Started moving like him as well.
He just started going full out blown. Yeah, so
I was happy with it.
Yeah.
When I look at a lot of Rocky films, the fights are always part of it for me, and I do enjoy them, particularly when I think back to something like Rocky 2. The fight here doesn't matter to me. When I think about the bits of the film I like, and when I think back on if I were to sit and daydream about this film, the fight probably wouldn't be in there.
Yeah.
I don't actually care that much about this fight. I do from a narrative perspective of how does it end, what do the characters get from it, etc. But yeah, I've not spent much time here talking about the actual fight because I don't really care.
Well, there's not much to say really because it is it's a fight, but then again it's the payoff. You still want it, but then the narrative stops really because narrative is basically there's a boxing match. There's only the only thing you got to say plot wise is what happened at the end, who won. There's not much to say beyond that.
But I mean, bear in mind he was decked. I mean, it was the final round, not the penultimate round, but very similar to Rocky struggling to get up in the first fight, and then we go to a split decision, which is exactly the same. I guess there's only so many ways you can end these things that work in terms of tension and storytelling and everything else. And I wouldn't say I was disappointed by it, but I was just thinking, well, if you did a sequel, there'd be variations on Rocky 2, and so it would go on. Fucking leave it here. I don't want to actually see Rocky's cancer fucking return in the next film or something. Do you know what I mean?
I know.
It's leave it here. Rocky's got some hope. He's earned his name. And we've put a bow on the series.
I guess. I mean, generally I can give or take it. I mean, I'm happy.
I'd go and see it, wouldn't we all?
I'd happy if they just left it here. I'll be perfectly fine with that. If they want to do another sequel, I'll be interested to see where they go with it. And I'll be happy to watch it. I think it's important to say we can presume where the fuck can they go from here. Leave it be. But then again, I'm sure people were thinking that about this film. So, who knows? Who knows? They might come up with something that's actually worthwhile and actually different from what's gone before. But you're probably right, Dave.
Given this podcast getting a little bit long, let's do final thoughts, ladies and gents.
No, it's pretty much kind of what I said before, really. I haven't now seen the rest. I can understand the kind of the emotional beats a bit more. No, in terms of a sequel, I'd probably look to focus more on the Creed character, see where he goes. Where sort of thing take him. But if it was kind of more the same, I'd be happy to watch that as well. But no, I really enjoyed it. And I would rank this one probably a close second behind the original Rocky film. Yeah,
I'm pretty much with you, Becca. I think one of the things about this film is it's so easily watchable. It's really well made, really well acted. It does all the right things that you want from a film like this, which is kind of surprising because you think, about how long this franchise has gone. You think, okay, they've run out of stuff, I think it'd be all tired, but no, I think it's quite impressive, like the quality of the film this down line. So yeah, I for me it's close second.
And that's very surprising, given that obviously it's not written by Stallone, directed by Stallone. Write the theme tune.
That's a plus at this point, though.
But no, definitely for sure. I mean, no doubt his talent as a screenwriter, but just just showing that
it's just a new voice.
Exactly, Sly hasn't had this much input. Has not had this much input for a film for a while, and it's still, well, in terms of our rankings anyway, among the best in the series, and produced, Oscar nomination worthy film.
Yeah, I'd certainly think it's Sly's best performance in the series. I am in agreement with you both, but I'll water it down a little bit. Chris calls it a close second. It's not that close to me. I still wildly prefer the first film. I mean, in terms of it sticking it in the DVD, the Blu-ray player, I prefer 2 as well. But if you talk in an absolute quality perspective, it's clearly it's in a similar strata to the first film, and it's far better than anything else. So yeah, highest of high praise for it, and I like this unreservedly. So yeah, very, very good film. Very impressed. Don't want a sequel, but would happily watch a sequel.
And just hope it's not a dumpster fire.
No, Absolutely. Me neither.
So that's the Rocky series, folks.
Yeah, we'll be hanging up our pork pie hats and boxing gloves, and then
we've been diagnosed with brain damage, so we're quitting.
Yeah, and we're gonna sort of dress as a bat and fight crime next. So
we are. We're going to be a bit paunchy first time out, though.
It's Adam West, so it's all right. We don't mind.
We'll grab our shark repellent and
shark repellent bat spray.
Right, yeah.
Oh dear! Of all like the Bond gadgets, of all the ridiculous gadgets that Q can cook up, something like a shark repellent bat spray. I don't know.
The film, I'd be interested to go through it because my memory of the film is, I feel about Batman 66 the way, I tend to feel that it's really funny for a few minutes, in that I bought the box set of the 1960 series and I didn't get that far into it because it was funny, it was entertaining, but not for that long. The joke wears out quite fast. And this is, I think, about a 90-minute film. I may be slightly wrong on that before we get to it.
Does it have lots of like pow and bort?
Yeah,
it's got
all of that, but it's really only funny for a few minutes. But we're going to commentate on it and make some fun of it anyway. But yeah, we hope you've enjoyed our Rocky series. We've really, really enjoyed it ourselves, I think.
Yeah, I hope you enjoy it as much as we've enjoyed reviewing them.
Yeah. As we've got a really long podcast here in the bank, by the time I edit it, we're down to something reasonable. It won't be so bad. But this has been a long recording, and it's our second night out of 3 and third out of 4 because we had to do honour the late Sir Roger Moore. There is no quiz this week. So
no, we're coming soon, back facts.
And I think you know where to find us on social media. I think we really ought to sign this one off. Becca, so can you confirm to us what we're covering next?
So yes, that means Geo Express Talk will return with our commentary of Batman, the movie.